excellent to each other and party on. We're back for another Legacy League, and today we are playing Bug Midrange with powerful cards like Leovold, Psychic Frog, Tamiyo, and a full 4 Baleful Strix. That's right, this is a very defensive deck, and we want to hang back and defend our flip Tamiyo until she can ultimate. That's kind of the goal. And to that end, we are playing a lot of removal. We're playing 4 Fatal Pushes. We're playing 2 Witherbloom Command, which can remove both creatures and can also, interestingly, remove flipped Tamiyos on the other side of the table. We're playing a couple Abrupt Decays, which just like no negotiation, done. Let's get rid of that Psychic Frog. And we're playing a Eldrazi as well for good measure. Because we're basically spending all of our mana every turn, we're playing almost at sorcery speed. So I wanted to make sure we had a lot of free counter magic. So I'm not playing Spell Pierce, I'm not playing Stifle, I'm not playing anything that you would have to keep mana untapped for. We're playing 3 Dazes, 4 Forces, 1 Force of Negation. Now you might be thinking, Daze, can we support Daze? Well, we are playing 3 Wastelands, so the Dazes do remain live a little bit longer into the game. Witherbloom Command can often kill Moxen, and it can recur Wastelands, so it's not unusual for this deck to be able to keep the opponent on low resource, potentially just keeping them on however many basics they have in their deck. We are only playing 1 basic because this deck is super color greedy. Let's talk about the mana base. So I geek out over mana bases. Like, that's my big thing, is I want to make sure we have good mana, reliable mana. So we're playing 9 fetches, we're playing 8 fetchables, and we're playing 3 wastelands. And I think 4 wastelands, like, you want to have 15 to 16 initial blue sources in your cantrip deck, your Daze deck, and we achieve that. We have 16 initial blue sources, including a basic island that we can fetch turn 1 if we don't have any other land in our hand, and we just need to make sure that we can curve to 2 to cast a Psychic Frog. So the main challenges this deck is going to face, Painter is Ascendant. Painter is extremely strong right now, and if you look, like, every single one of our threats is blue, so that could be a problem. We are playing 3 Hydroblasts. These are really good against Painter. These are really good against Blood Moon type effects. They're also pretty good against Delver. Speaking of Delver, we got a couple Carpet of Flowers. We're not that worried about the Harbinger of the Seas if we can resolve a Carpet of the Flowers, because our opponent's going to have a bunch of islands and we can create colored mana as necessary. The other big threat is Eldrazi. I don't worry that much about Eldrazi since we're playing 4 Baleful Strix, but Consign to Memory is a very powerful anti-Eldrazi card. It's also really good against 12 post. If we get into a control mirror, Orcish Bowmasters, we can bring these 4 in, replace dead removal cards, because there are a lot of creatureless control decks or decks that barely play any creatures, that we can bring these Orcish Bowmasters in, and they are still an incredible card. They're just not a main deckable card right now, in my humble opinion. We got a couple Nile Spell Bombs in case we encounter graveyard strategies, and we've got a Pernicious Deed for, Death and Taxes, Karn Forge, anything that's using a lot of cheap permanents on the table, anything that's doing an Urza Saga strategy. This will definitely come in against Painter. So this should be a fun league. I will be amazed if we can 4-1 it, because again, this is not well disposed to a heavy Pyroblast meta, but we are going to try. We're going to hopefully flip some Tamiyos. We're hopefully going to attack in with some, 15, 16 Psychic Frogs for lethal. That's a very common pattern when you have Psychic Frog and Tamiyo in your deck, is just to attack with a massive Psychic Frog. And hopefully we're just going to slow games down with Baleful Strix, make people too scared to attack in with their Tamiyos, too scared to attack in with their Psychic Frogs, hold back a whole bunch of Eldrazi. It should be a lot of fun. And I just love the fact that we can play Abrupt Decay and just completely answer things without any sort of discussion. It is uncounterable. Your permanent goes into the graveyard. So let's put some permanents into the graveyard and let's have some fun. I'll see you in the league. All right, we're back for round 1 versus an unknown opponent. I couldn't find anything about this player. I think this hand is totally keepable. We've got plenty of mana. We do have a Psychic Frog. I think I'm going to keep it and hope that they're not on a combo deck, because we don't really have an immediate answer to combo, but we do have Wasteland. Okay, that's a good opening. This does not give me vibes of us playing against like Eldrazi or something. Okay, they're thought seizing us, which is totally fine. This could be like a mono black aggro strategy. All right, they took our Psychic Frog, which is totally reasonable take. I think since we have so many land and we need to find action, I don't think it hurts to go ahead. Oh, it's a bummer that we don't have anything to go with that Force of Will now. I think I'm going to go ahead and play out the Hedge Maze just because I don't have a way to brainstorm it back, and I would value the selection. All right, it's an Undercity Sewer. We don't need that. I'm going to put that in the graveyard. All right, so if they play like Dark Ritual into like big creature, that'll be scary, but we'll see what they get here. Okay, they got an island, so they are blue-black. And this might be their own. Oh, Infernal Tutor, so they are doing unfair stuff. Lion's Eye Diamond. Please play that out. They're not dumb enough to play it out into my Witherbloom Command. All right, we need blue card stat. That's not a blue card. I think we're dead. I'm trying to think of... I mean, they're playing like a straight, Lion's Eye Diamond combo. I don't think it really matters what we do. I'm just going to play this out and pass. I think we're not going to F6 because we don't want them to know that we're naked here, but we are totally naked to various attacks that they could do. We have no protection whatsoever. Okay, so some green in there. That's probably for Veil of Summer. Lion's Eye Diamond comes out, and they're just going to Goldfish us here. They had the perfect Thoughtseize into double Lion's Eye Diamond into Infernal Tutor. That is unnecessarily risky if they're going to crack their Lion's Eye Diamonds. And I so wish we could punish that, but we can't. Yeah, I'm feeling super dead, but I'm going to let them go. They should assume that we have Force of Will in our deck. So one thing to note is post-board, this matchup does improve quite a bit because we know what they're on. That's a huge part. I wouldn't have kept the hand that I kept if I'd known they were on Storm. The other reason it improves is because, Ad Nauseum. Well, we're going to get to see a lot of their deck. They definitely know that everything they do is resolving. 9, 8. Take a look at what is getting revealed here. Tons of mana, tons of cantrips. There's no reason for them to keep going. I don't think they're in any risk of running out. Like, I'm really amazed they're still going. Like, I guess they could probably... Okay, they stopped. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt. Like, they have a pretty good margin of safety with 6 life. They're definitely going to end the game this turn. Yeah, they don't even have any hand disruption to see our hand again, so I'm just going to let them go to do the full combo thing, and maybe they screw up somehow. I don't see how they screw up. Infernal Tutor with 7 mana on the stack. They're going to... Let's see how high they can get their Storm. So sideboard, I'll just go ahead and crack open my sideboard so we can start thinking about this. Okay, I'll just... I'll concede. All right. So this is Ad Nauseum Tendrils, which is not, in my opinion, as good as Beseech the Mirror Tendrils. And I think the entire Epic Storm community, or most of the Epic Storm community, is also of that mindset. So cards that can come in, Bowmasters can pressure. Hydroblast, we didn't see any red. Consign to Memory does stop the Storm Trigger. It's better than nothing. Cards that are going to be dead, I imagine this is totally dead. We still have some removal in the form of the Abrupt Decays. I'm probably not going to pull those out. Strix is pretty bad, but it does pitch to Force. We need to cut 2 more cards. I like Leovold just because it does shut off their cantrips. It's a super weak card. It does pitch to Force. I don't think Spellbomb is where we want to be. They might have some graveyard focused strategy, but Abrupt Decay could, like, depending on what they board in, Abrupt Decay could be good. I don't really want to take it out. I don't want to take out Witherbloom Command either. But they're barely playing any green, probably. Did we see any green that they revealed? Let's take a look. Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah, I imagine green is probably just for sideboard. So this looks to be like a really efficient, difficult to disrupt list. The fact that they're checking our hand for counter magic means Consign to Memory is going to be a lot worse. Borrower is pretty bad. I didn't see a single permanent. Like, it's almost all spell based and land based. I tell you what, I'm going to take out the Abrupt Decays. And my reasoning is Borrower does pretty much the same thing. We can borrow stuff back to their hand. And it also pitches to Force. What I don't want is a lot of non-blue cards. And you can see that like we've got an extremely, blue deck. I don't even think I saw Force in there. Let's take a look. They may just be relying on Veil of Summer rather than Force to get the job done. We have plenty of time, so I'm just going to take a look at what they revealed again. So they revealed Cabal Therapy, a lot of Artifact mana, Brainstorm, Ritual. Yeah. So we're going to be on the play here. I mean, they could turn one us and we'd be really embarrassed with all this counter magic in our deck. At the same time, getting a Tamiyo out is not terrible. No. They do have the capacity to turn one. I think it's unlikely they're going to turn one. Also, the fact that we've taken so long to consider whether to keep this hand tells them that we probably don't have a Force because we just snap keep a Force hand. Force is pretty good. Redundant Force is even better since they have discard effect. So if we can get a hand with 2 Forces, if we get a hand with Daze and they see our hand, then they can just play around Daze for the rest of the game. All right, I'm going to see if I get punished here, but I'm going to keep this just very card-rich hand. And I'm going to go ahead and Underground Sea Ponder here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I would like to find a Daze, a Force of Will, a Force Negation. Altogether we've got 8 of those cards in our deck. And at the very worst, I can set up a land so I can play out Tamiyo and Brainstorm back this Undercity Sewer. If we shuffle here, they're going to know that we don't have anything, but we don't really have a choice. I'm going to shuffle. Okay, Wasteland's not bad. It might interact, but we're definitely this is the clinch. And we signed up for this when we didn't mulligan there. So I'll definitely count it as a punt, a serious player if I didn't mulligan here. Thoughtseize, okay. So Thoughtseize is one of the reasons that I justified taking a little longer. They were going to take Brainstorm here. We are going to be able to Tamiyo Wasteland them, though. Maybe that sets them back a turn. Maybe it doesn't matter. They've got a lot of artifact mana in their deck. I didn't see any Moxes. Okay. That's a great pickup. And we picked it up after they saw. So I'm going to go ahead and do this just in case they're playing Daze. I don't imagine they're playing Daze. And now we can go ahead and play the Tamiyo. And Tamiyo may seem weak here, but if we flip her, I mean, that's a clock. And the clues are not nothing, even if we can't immediately flip her. I would rather not Daze here, but I will 100% Daze if they do something like Infernal Tutor with... They may just... they're probably going to get a basic here. Not getting a basic. Carpet. Carpet is problematic here. I think I am going to Daze this. And my reasoning is I don't think they have any sort of Simian Spirit Guide type thing. And this will just give them a lot of mana. And what they're really trying to do is amass mana in the early turns. I would not fault you if you have thoughts about that play. Leave a comment. But my thinking is pretty much everything in my deck is a colored mana source. Or is an island. I've got a single Bayou in my deck. So options. I can Undercity Sewer. That looks really weak, especially if they untap and they have a second Carpet. Other option, I could play out Misty Rainforest and I could be ready to fetch. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attack first. And then I'm going to Undercity Sewer. And then I'm going to play out the Misty Rainforest next turn. That way I can get up to 2 mana and the maximum they'll ever get out of their Carpet is 1. The other option, since I'm not ever planning to play out this Underground Sea, is just to play out the Misty now. That way I've got a source. But now they know what I drew for turn. Because I drew Daze last turn and then I drew this turn. So they can potentially go off with impunity here. They're not. That's great. So this makes me want to potentially just go get they cast a single Carpet. They could have 3 or 4 carpets in their deck. They may not see another one for a while. So what I could do here is I could go get my Surveil Land. I think it's better to get the Surveil Land and get the potential Force of Will, since I've got a Tamiyo that's just chilling here waiting for a force. I'll mill any sort of threat. I'll definitely mill a land. I'll keep Brainstorm because it can flip her. I won't necessarily keep Ponder. No, I'll keep Ponder. My opponent's given me a long time. They may have stepped away. It doesn't make sense to tank here. All right, bullet dodged. All right, we rip Consign, which does stop Storm if they attempt, and it stops it around Veil of Summer. We could Undercity Sewer here. I'll attack. So we have the option of just drawing a card rather than surveilling a card. If we end step, like if we make it through the turn, we could just yeah. And also, it's worth noting that I don't think Ad Nauseum draws, so that makes Orcish Bowmaster less good. But if they do find a cantrip, so what I'm going to do is I'll just play this Underground Sea. It's not worth it to get to the selection to take us off Cracking Clues, in my opinion. And I also like the ability to replicate this if necessary. And I think that Consign to Memory is so strong against Storm that, well, I mean, if they draw a whole lot of cards, they will likely... I think it makes more sense to get some pressure on the table here. I'm going to play out the Bowmasters rather than draw a card. Okay. That's fine. We forced their hand. They had to use a pedal to do that because they don't have blue sources. They'll likely find a blue source, but they can't play a land drop for this turn. They knew that Orcish Bowmasters was coming, so they could kind of do that. All right. Now, if we play out the Undercity Sewers, we do get the Surveil, but we don't really need the mana, and then we really turn on their carpets. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attack with everything, and then I will waste... I'll waste Instep because I don't want them to cast a Veil with that mana during their turn. Actually, there's nothing we can do to interact if they cast Veil during their upkeep. So what I do think it's worth doing it during their upkeep to maybe bait them into using the Veil. Because what they don't know is Consign to Memory doesn't care about Veil. But again, a lot of that is contingent on them not drawing a ton of cards and finding hand disruption before they kill us. Do you see what I'm saying? So like, let's say they Ad Nauseum, they draw like a ton of cards. They could... one of the scary things about Ad Nauseum is that you can do it, at instant speed. So they could potentially Dark Ritual, Ad Nauseum if we give them the window. I'm going to pass, and if they don't do anything with their mana, I'll just upkeep it. Okay, it looks like they're going to Ad Nauseum here. So I'll just wait for this to happen. From blue and black. Okay. Why would they do that? If I just pass priority, it ends... Is that the end of the turn? They must have Dark Ritual. Wow, I think they were just baiting me. Okay, well, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, but like, they just baited me to try to get me to counter that, I guess. Now they have the Thoughtseize. So now we're screwed. But we do have clues that we can crack. They're going to take Consign to Memory for sure. It doesn't make sense to do anything other than that. That did take 2 life out of them. So, all right. Let's see what they get here. I'm very happy that they threw away that Veil. It may not matter, though, if they just have Dark Ritual, Ad Naus is their last card. But we could crack a clue and find either Daze or Force of Will or Force Negation. Those 8 cards in our deck still play. It's also possible that they have cantrips in their hand because I imagine they're playing 4 Brainstorm, 4 Ponder. All right. That's a dead draw. Force, very good pickup. I do think we play out the land just because we can get the There might be a situation where it's useful and it's not doing anything in our hand. And even if we get a brainstorm, we'll want to shuffle. This can't, even if they play a carpet, this can go get Bayou. So it's not the worst. Just a naked infernal tutor's fine. They'll have to show me what they're going to get. Cabal Ritual. Okay. So now they have access to 2 Cabal Rituals. All right, I'm going to draw. That's another good card. You can see that we never even had to flip Tamiyo. We just kind of used her as a one-sided Howling Mine and got an extra card each turn, and that was enough here. If they don't have a land... Oh, Psychic Frog. I'm going to attack. I think... Do we play out Psychic Frog? They're dropping quite a bit in life. Psychic Frog basically means next turn they're dead. We don't get the draw off Clue if we play Psychic Frog. We're delaying. I think it's fine to hold Psychic Frog. I know that sounds crazy. Let's think about this. We've got plenty of time. They're playing slower than us. So let's say hypothetically we play a Psychic Frog and they have discard effect. They discard our Force of Will. They won't necessarily have enough mana unless they have a bunch of petals in their hand or a carpet to cast the Cabal Ritual. Cabal Ritual is it 2 mana? Yeah. So 2 mana and it would yield 5 mana. So we really have to daze this. If they have double discard, they could discard, a relevant. I mean, I feel like it's better for us to have the draw. I wish I could play out this but it's too late. I feel like. But I mean, Psychic Frog is guaranteed death next turn because we can just discard our hand. I'm going to play out the Psychic Frog. I mean, even if they have like Echoing Truth or something for our Orcish Bowmaster, that wouldn't make any sense. That would be a terrible play. But like, let's say they did. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like what could go wrong here. Obviously, discard effect into Dark Ritual, into Cabal Ritual would be a pretty powerful one. Looks like they're passing, which I think that just means we win. All right, I'm gonna actually attack them. Let's see. So we get the clue. So this is 1, 2, 3. I mean, they're dead next turn for sure. If we discard our hand, they could have Echoing Truth on this, and then they could survive and win. That seems unlikely, but it is a possibility. So I'm not going to discard anything. I'm just going to draw my card. Play conservatively here. I'll play out another Delta. That way we can choose whether we want to crack it. And now we have the ability to get 2 clues if we need to. But I don't want to turn, that other spell. Okay, this is fine. This is going to ping them, grow our army. It doesn't even matter at this point, but it does restrict their options. Like, they can't add Nauseum anymore. They're going to have to kill us with, like, Lethal Storm Tendrils. I don't even know how their deck does that. Okay, Lotus Petal. 5 cards left. Carpet. I'm going to let this resolve. And they can pass, but they're only getting 2 mana. So it's basically like a weak ritual effect. Now that they've added the mana, I can crack with impunity. So if we force this, then they can't cast the Cabal Ritual. And they can't get the chain going. They don't have green mana. I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and crack these clues. I don't perceive them likely having soft permission here. Another blue card that we can pitch. Doesn't matter what land I get here. I'm just going to grab a couple lands. I will get the Bayou here, just in case for some reason there is another turn. I'm going to go ahead and draw here. Okay, I think I am going to force this. And that might seem crazy, but my reasoning is we can daze the next one. We have 17 life. Okay, Storm is going to be like 2, I think, 3. No, wait, they pondered last turn. So Storm is going to be 3. Let's say hypothetically they do have a Lotus Petal in hand. They've got 2 Dark Cabal Rituals. So they need Cabal Ritual, Lotus Petal. But if they have that, they don't have any other business. So, yeah, I'm going to force this. And then I can just daze the Cabal Ritual. Okay, and they should have one more Cabal Ritual in hand, but they don't have mana to cast it. And we're going to be able to kill them. So, yeah, I think that may be one of the first times I've ever forced a Dark Ritual, but that was correct there. We were able to deduce that their hand couldn't have a payoff spell and more mana. So I think we played that well. Yeah, we drew a lot of, like, Tamiyo wasn't inconsequential. She drew us a lot of cards. And Tamiyo's great because during like a long game, she's just an early investment, and she's just, those clues were there. When we built up the mana, we could actually draw 2 cards in one turn. So every turn that passed was essentially an extra card. I think there were like 2 clues left at the end of the game. I don't think there's any sideboard substitutions we need to make here. We've got a high density of blue cards. We have Orcish Bowmasters to kill them. They don't seem like a deck that even plays out any sort of artifacts early. I never saw them play out a Mox, so I don't even think they're playing Mox, which makes Witherbloom Command a lot less good. But being able to gain life and potentially mill, it's not the worst. Hydroblast does nothing. That's the only other card I would consider bringing in here. Abrupt Decay would have been completely dead the entire game. Yeah, I think we just run it back. All right. Game 3. We've got a Force Hand. We have a Wasteland. We have the ability to... Yeah, this is a keep, in my opinion. I probably should have thought a little bit longer so they wouldn't think that I just had a great Force of Will hand. But I do have a great Force of Will hand. Here comes the discard spell. Even with the discard spell, they're going to have to figure out how to deal with Consign. Okay, this is not a discard spell. This is a Ponder. And they may only play 4 discard spells. Like, Duress is not a good card. You only play it if you're already playing 4 Thoughtseize usually. Or maybe if you're really worried about life loss and like Doomsday, you might play it. But Thoughtseize is just so much better because there are problematic creatures you need to kill too. So let's talk about the sequence of draws here. First, we're going to play at the Misty Rainforest. That's almost certainly going to go get a Surveil land. I would love it if they just tried to go now. I don't think that's likely. All right. Long pause from the opponent. Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking about, but they have to like think of these lines, and they may just be thinking about them throughout the match instead of like doing it all up front. They may like think for a little bit, kind of get a little bit of a plan in mind, and then go back. And that's kind of how I do it too. I rarely think like, okay, turn 2, turn 3, I'm going to do this, turn 4. There's lots of branching possibilities and stuff, and it's hard to figure out what's likely to happen. Okay, I think we just play that out. We pass with Consign to Memory up. Next turn, we can Wasteland if necessary. Otherwise, we can go... Okay, so I was wrong when I said there were no permanents that they played out that we needed to worry about. They did play out Carpet. Witherbloom is great for dealing with Carpet. It's also great for recurring Wasteland. So the best thing they could do here is play a non-basic Sculpt. They can't get their basic Swamp with this. Okay, so they're not going to do that. I think there's a possibility that they have a Carpet in hand, and I think Sculpting is a mistake here, because what I want to do is just be able to get both of my lands in the same turn cycle. So I'm just going to play out fetches. I'm not going to play out any permanents at all. If they cast something dangerous, I can always Brazen Borrower it, end step. I could also double Surveil if I need to here. That's fine. That's brazen of them, knowing that I have likely 4 Orcish Bowmasters in the deck. I would just like for them to get a non-basic, and then next turn I can waste. I can Witherbloom Command, and then I can waste again. Baleful Strix is not going to do substantial combat damage. It's basically a cantrip. Its most valuable purpose in this matchup is pitching to force. All right, I am going to go get a Surveil land here, because we want to dodge further lands. Further lands are not useful. I don't mind Tamiyo if she comes up, because we can just put her in play and be doing something. I'll get the Undercity Sewers. This is worth keeping. Gives us selection. I'm going to go ahead and play this out and hide the fact that I have a Wasteland. Doesn't really matter that much. I'll ponder here. There is a possibility they could be playing a card like Flusterstorm. Okay, so Daze is definitely worth keeping. These other cards I'll put back, and I'm just going to plan to fetch for Surveil and Step. Still don't have any pressure on the table. They're just able to hang back and sculpt, but eventually they will need to start putting lands into play, and I will be able to start wasting them. There we go. Trop. Interesting. They don't seem to be playing Surveil lands, which I can't imagine that being correct. Oh, they're going to do another Brainstorm? That's fine. I really wish I could have found a Orchestra Masters, because that's a great card in this matchup, because you can like keep all your interaction up and then you can slam that on the table later. So they may go off here. They may just play the like I'm totally fine if they play Carpet here into my one land. They're fetching again. I do kind of think it was a mistake not to play out the Wasteland here, because I would be able to Wasteland twice. So if they Thoughtseize, we're going to be very sad. I don't think we can sign here because Consign can stop. Yeah. Consign can stop Storm. Yeah, and I would have looked like a fool there if I did anything. So they know I have a force based on my pausing. You got more mana. You got a ton of mana. Do you have a discard effect? I'll force a discard effect. I think this might actually give them a false sense of security if I force here. If I let it resolve. So here's what I'm thinking. This is the critical, decision that's going to make whether we win or not. So let's say hypothetically we Veil. They have one card left in hand. It has to resolve. It's likely, I am going to force here. But then they can, I think we just have to force here. I can't see any way around it, because if we don't force here, their last card is either Ad Nauseum or it's Infernal Tutor. That's the name of the card. And if it's Infernal Tutor, they're just going to go get the Ad Nauseum and they'll have the mana to cast it. But Consign to Memory can stop them. But I think if they get Infernal Tutor, well, if they just go for Storm, like some sort of Storm kill, I'm trying to think of what they could have. They could like have a Brainstorm in hand, and then they just crack Lions, Eye Diamonds, Brainstorm. But I don't think they would go all in like that unless they had an Infernal Tutor. The problem is they're going to draw a ton of cards, and they're almost certainly going to find a discard spell for my Consign to Memory. So I think I have to go ahead and do this now. I'll just pitch Brazen Borrower. And they may have a backup Veil. Well, they wouldn't have a backup Veil. Okay, so here is where they're just like, okay, well, we're going to go for it. I can't stop this. Dazing does nothing here. Hopefully they don't go for, hopefully they just go for Storm. There's no way they go for Storm. They're definitely going for Ad Nauseum here. Another one. Okay. I'm not sure why they're doing that, just to build up Storm. They should totally Ad Nauseum here. If they don't, they're crazy. Oh, I know why they did that, because they're like, oh, you may have another force. Well, I think we just deterministically win, assuming I don't screw this up somehow. All right, blue mana in the pool. Consign, stop the Storm. No reason to replicate. I've been in a situation where I tried to replicate and it got screwed up. And like I lost. They don't need to concede here, but they could concede. I totally wouldn't fault them for conceding, because they got 0 cards in hand. They've used up most of their mana. Yeah, we win. I think forcing was a show of strength. Like, had we not forced, maybe they would have been like, all right, well, I'll just take the a different line. But they had tons of mana. They used it in a way that made sense in the context of Ad Nauseum Tendrils. And I think this is one of the reasons why, that deck is not long for this world. Like with Consign running around, Consign is just like a really clean answer. And also there are a lot of Stifle Knot decks. I mean, I play Stifle Knot a lot on this channel, and like, I don't know, I would be more cognizant of Stifle type effects if you're playing that deck. But again, in my humble opinion, if you're playing that deck, and I'm not a Storm player by any means, I've heard that, Ad Nauseum Tendrils is just not as good as Beseech Tendrils. So I would beseech you to play Beseech instead of Ad Nauseum in 2024. See you in round 2. All right, we're up against Zidikal. In round 2, I may have played against this person before. Yeah, Stoneblade. So they're basically playing. Let's take a look at their deck. They have 80 cards. They have revealed Yorion. This is not a good hand. I'm only gonna. It's just too little. This hand has the same problem, but I'm gonna keep it on the basis that we have an answer for Emrakul, or not Emrakul, for Kaldra. It's super passive. Yeah, I'll just keep it, and we're on the play, which is good. I'll put this back, and I'm gonna open with this, and then we can delve. Or we can surveil. Sorry, I'm getting my mechanisms mixed up. My mechanics mixed up. So this is not going to be a matchup where we play on basics. They are going to waste us. We're just going to accept that. When I say play on basics, like the only basic we have is our island. We're not going to be fetching our island here. We don't have a clean answer to this. I am going to go ahead and get the surveil land, and then I'm just going to daze this. That may seem super duper passive, but I'm looking for action. Actually, that is action. So I could force this instead of dazing, and then I can just stick this next turn. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that because this does give us forward momentum. So this is definitely staying on top, and then I'm just going to force this. And this may seem like greedy, like we'll just bounce it back to hand. It's not that big a deal. But we do want to not just be like, replaying turn 1. This gives us the option to go ahead and draw a card, get something on the board that can potentially trade with attackers later. I mean, Strix is extremely slow. It's not going to win us the game through combat. But the whole point of this extremely defensive deck is to just be really good against creature strategies and hold the fort while Tamiyo does her thing and goes upward. All right. Sash is fine. I can definitely bounce Sash later. I don't even really care about my graveyard. We don't use our graveyard for anything here in this deck. I'm trying to think I don't think there's a single graveyard spell. I'm going to waste their port. And, I could just bounce this for momentum. I don't think that's the worst. This may seem like a weird play, but, they have to recast it. We're going to definitely hardcast this, by the way, and it's going to start attacking. We just need more mana. Okay, second planes. Let's see if they just replay it. White Orchid Phantom is fine. Actually, I'm going to daze that. Since we drew the daze. Do I want to get my surveil back to hand? I think it's unnecessary. I'm just going to daze that. They'll have more later. It's basically a 1-for-1. We're just chilling anyway. Now we have the option to even, I kind of want to brainstorm this wasteland away. We could totally whiff here. We didn't whiff. Okay, this is great. So I'm going to put this back. I'm going to put this back. Now I'm going to play this out. This is a great, this is just a testament to how powerful Brainstorm is. That it can take, a clunky hand with cards that you don't care about. Just getting rid of even one of those cards totally changed the texture of this game. So Tamiyo is coming out. They do have Karakas in their deck. So this is almost like our own, 1 blue mana Rishodon port if they do find a Karakas here. Otherwise, it is, what our deck is designed to do, which is defend Tamiyo. Tamiyo is quite good against them when they don't have a Karakas on hand. Recruiter, I imagine they're going to get Solitude for Karakas. Maybe they're just going to get a Stoneforge. Stoneforge is just generally good. Extraction Specialist. So they're going to be able to bring White Orchid back. They already do have the Solitude. Okay, they're going down cards. They're going to take out our Tamiyo for sure here. The question is, I think you Extraction Specialist, they can't return Solitude with Extraction. Let me look at Extraction Specialist here. Mana value 2 or less. Okay, so they can only get back White Orchid. We do have a basic island in our deck, but that will cut us off one of our colors when they do that. This is pretty good. We can kill their creature. Green, black. We can get back a land drop for the turn. And yeah, they're going to be able to cast Extraction Specialist next turn. Actually, if we waste, they may not be able to. I kind of want to waste. Normally, Wasteland is pretty terrible against Death and Taxes. But yeah, we're going to try it. And then next turn, we'll definitely cast Psychic Frog. But I just felt like that was too good. Take a turn off to do that because that Recruiter may just seem, oh, it's just a 1/1, who cares? Like later when Yorion comes out, we'll be glad that that wasn't on the table. They didn't have the mana. So they're probably going to go get Cauldron here. They cannot get, there's a very powerful equipment that was not printed on MTGO, which is pre-war formalware. They can't get that. That would be insane here. Because basically, when it comes into play, you can return a creature to play. It's really good. All right, another Strix. I think Frog has a higher upside because we can just start attacking with it every turn. Yeah, well, Strix could draw us in a land, which would be powerful here. I know it sounds weird to not play the broken card that everybody's calling for a ban for, but I do think like the prospect of drawing a land is worth it. Okay, we didn't get the land. If they cut us off black, we're actually... Oh, I should have attacked there. We're in a pretty bad spot if they cut us off black. But I don't think they're going to... Well, they may cast Extraction Specialist now. Yeah. So they're going to get back the... they can only get back White Orchid, or they get back Mother of Runes, but I don't think that's the play here. And they do, sure enough, go after our black source. So we're going to go get a blue. And yeah, we're kind of like in a sticky place. I still stand by the decision to return the Wasteland instead of the fetch, but we'll see how badly we're punished here. We're punished pretty badly. I think this game's over. I can't attack into this. They can't attack into us with anything but White Orchid, but they're going to be able to put Cauldron into play, and we are very quickly going to die here. So we run the play. Okay, they're going to probably just blink White Orchid again. Yeah, I'm going to concede. So the reason is this is a long matchup, and we're already down 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes. So, yeah, more than 3 minutes. So, in this matchup, like, I totally could have won. And somewhere along the line, I made a misplay. Because even though we're not, like, super duper favored, I knew what they were playing. I was on the play. Yeah. Now, the good news is they're not going to have any sideboard for us because in my understanding is like pretty much all of Death and Taxes, especially 80 card variants, which is the variant you should play, by the way, if you're curious. My opinion of this is you should always play the Yorion version. This comes out. Leovold's not going to do a lot here, especially not against Caracas. In my opinion, we can definitely, well, we could take out Daze. Daze was not bad there. I think Daze is pretty bad, though, in the matchup as a whole, which you kind of saw because I was like pitching Daze because I did Daze to stop one card. It was the first attempt at getting White Orchid Phantom on the stack. I counted that. You know, the reason why they call this Stoneforge, like mono white Stoneforge, instead of calling it Death and Taxes, is I think they probably are not playing Thalia. Okay, so we have lots of removal. We've added this powerful removal spell. These Bowmasters are kind of removal. They do have X1s in their deck. They have, we saw Flicker Wisp. We saw Mother of Runes. I think Orcish Bowmasters is good here. Abrupt Decay, Witherbloom, these are all good cards. Brazen Borrower is very good against their deck because, yeah, I think this is the sideboard we're going to use for both games 2 and if there's a game 3. Death and Taxes is a very underrated deck. Death and Taxes, I played it for about a year and I just got so sick of losing to combo decks. And I think that's the reason why it's not like better represented is if they queue into combo, they're pretty helpless against combo decks. Like they'll say, oh, but we've got like, Leyline of the Void, or we've got, like they've got a lot of like surgical extraction. Like, yeah, everybody has access to surgical extraction. That doesn't give you a good matchup against combo. Mindbreak Trap is not a good card against combo. Mindbreak Trap would have just gotten, Thoughtseize out of their hand. Let's say the player from last game versus this game, like the player from last game would absolutely win this matchup, but Death and Taxes just crushes fair decks like our deck because they've got so much synergy. Every creature has an ETB effect. They have Karakas, which is really good against Tamiyo and can potentially bounce and replay their own threats. Yeah, it's just like a really great value engine, and it has an unimpeachable mana base of mostly just basic planes. They don't even use fetch. All right, like when was the last time you saw a Death and Taxes deck fetch? They used to have to play that for Bowmaster, but now they don't even play Bowmaster. I haven't seen like the black-white variant of Death and Taxes in a long time because there are so many good mono-white options. So yeah, I'm not expecting to win this. But if you want to see me just completely destroy Death and Taxes, I think in one of my Nethergoyf videos, I think the Nethergoyf video that I published yesterday is the video where I just completely destroy Death and Taxes, even though it's an incredibly unfavorable matchup. And I shouldn't say incredibly unfavorable. I would say it's unfavorable. If you were to ask me what are the least favorable matchups, I'll just type them down here. Painter is enemy number 1. Sorry. I'm typing unfavorable match. I could just open up a text editor and do this. But like basically Painter and then D&T, of course, is on this spectrum. And then I would say slightly less favorable would be something like a really resilient combo deck, Karnforge maybe. And then we start to drift into the favorable. Like I think... and I would say probably Sneak and Show. Yeah. Okay, so this is a totally keepable, totally serviceable hand. I'm going to keep this on the strength of double Fatal Push. I'm going to open with Misty Rainforest just so they don't just open Wasteland, because I do want to get to 2 mana so I can cast out this Baleful Strix and start going to Value Town. Baleful Strix is... just straight up drawing a card is more valuable at 2 mana than most of the cards in their deck. But it's not necessarily... like, I would say Recruiter the Guard is just an insane card in their deck, but Recruiter is not good at combat. Baleful Strix will win any combat scenario by virtue of being Death Touch, other than First Strike, which they have a lot of First Strike creatures in their deck. So I'll just correct myself there. Okay. So we're going to see what we want to keep threats. Bowmasters being a very good threat. Let's see what we get. We get another Fatal Push. I'm going to keep this. I know that may seem crazy. Like, you've already got 2 Fatal Pushes. You're too reactive. They're going to need a lot of Wasteland type effects to keep us off black and stop us from pushing their creatures here. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll play out the Trop and we'll just go black, blue, Strix. This is what we want to be doing. We want to be like getting slightly ahead in value, but we also need to be pressuring. Ponder is a great pickup. I would say the most important thing that we draw here, probably like a Psychic Frog would be good. They do have Plows. White Orchid Phantom, we can't stop that, but the first time, it's not a big deal. It's going to go after our Black Source. We'll just go get our island. One of the reasons I conceded there last game when I did was I didn't want to show them that we didn't have any more basics, but they may have inferred that. All right, I think I can play out Psychic Frog, but then I can't Fatal Push. I'm going to try Pondering because I'm worried that they have that they curve straight into Flicker Wisp, which would be devastating. I want to see if I can find Counter Magic, like a Daze. Oh, we took the Dazes out. These are not terrible. Actually, yeah, I kind of don't mind those. So what I think we do... Yeah, this is actually pretty good. So I'm going to take this... So now I'm thinking, okay, I want to be able to play out Tamiyo and Protector. Is that too much to ask? I think it is. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play like this. This may seem really passive, but I'm going to try to get Tamiyo next turn. So I'll play this out, and then if they go after my mana in some way, I'll at least push White Orchid. Like if they Flicker Wisp, specifically. I could push here to potentially get a hit in, but I don't think it's worth it. I think what's more worth it is if they're trying to flicker her somehow. Another White Orchid Phantom. That is bad news bears. We do have lots of mana sources here though. So I'm going to let it come in. It's going to target the Bayou, I imagine. And then I'll just push it. Okay, so we'll add black here. And then I'm not going to use the ability because I want that Tamiyo and I want that extra land on top. I'm going to go and push this one. The good news is they might waste me too. It's fine. I'm not even going to add mana. So what I'm doing the next turn, I'm going to go ahead and play a Tamiyo. If they attempt to do anything to interact with Tamiyo, I will brainstorm. If they attempt to flicker this somehow, I will push it. If they have a third White Orchid Phantom, okay, this looks like it might be a Flicker Wisp. Spirit of the Labyrinth is fine. I do have another land under this, so I don't want to crack it right now. Okay, they didn't even bother attacking in. That's great. So I do want to get this land. All right. I think we start with an attack here. Then we can push, and then we can brainstorm. And then we can start getting her to go up. Okay. It is totally possible that they actually have removal here. So I think I can't do everything I want to do now. I think I need to wait and see what they do. Because if they just like plow, I need to have this brainstorm up. But they may be thinking like, oh, they can't brainstorm. I'd really like to counter this. What we could do here is we could go ahead and we're running the risk of Tamiyo getting killed if we proactively brainstorm to try to find a force here. I think if they plow her, it's not the end of the world. Because I'd rather than plow her than plow my Psychic Frog. All right, and I've got plenty of black sources left in my deck. I'm going to go ahead and push here. That needs to happen. Okay, now I'm going to brainstorm. Solituding over my brainstorm. All right. That is definitely something I was worried they could do, but this is going to go to their graveyard. All right, we're going to draw a bunch of cards. We got Abrupt Decay. We got Pernicious Deed, which wipes both of these, but it does take a turn to do that. We got Fatal Push. So I think I'm going to put back Deed. I think it's just too slow. They are down to one card in hand. They're going to go get probably... I'm not sure if they get... they might get Lion Sash. I think we put back... Well, Masters, it doesn't really do anything right now. We let this resolve. They're going to get their equipment. And then we'll just push. We'll get the other Underground Sea and we'll push. Here, we just take the hit. Now, there's a lot of danger in them potentially having a second Stoneforge Mystic. But I'm taking solace in the fact that even if they have a second one, they are not going to be able to... Sorry, I'm struggling to articulate myself. Even if they have a second one, they're not going to be able to immediately get it out, and we may have a window to Abrupt Decay it. Now it's frog time. Let's see what we draw. Land would be great, like especially a fetch land so we can get a green source. My opponent said, I wish pre-war firmware. Yes, I was just talking about that on my video. Love the card. Okay, so I think what we do here is we just play a Psychic Frog and hope they don't have removal for it. If they attack in with White Orchid, I will 100% jump it and attempt to block the White Orchid just to get it off the table. And I think since we're playing this out, yeah, I'll just attack here, get some damage. I mean, we're going to basically be racing them with Psychic Frog unless we can find a second source, unless we can find a green source. If they find a second Plow, or if they have a second Stoneforge Mystic, that would be really terrible. Yeah, and Wizards, if you're watching my humble video, please try to get, or Daybreak, I guess, took over. try to get pre-war formal wear onto MTGO because it's a great card and it's a great tool in the toolbox. Yeah, no game actions in step. So here, that's pretty good. I think we just attack with Frog, and then if they want to block, I'll happily discard this Abrupt Decay. Okay, Felia. All right, Felia is a very strong card. I'm going to let that happen. Felia with White Orchid Phantom is absolutely brutal. We know they have a Cauldron in hand. We don't know what their last card is. They could totally blow us out here. I need a green source very badly. Okay, option. We could bounce Felia back to hand. They can just recast it. Doesn't really accomplish what we want to accomplish. Other option, we brainstorm. We find a green source. We Abrupt Decay the Felia. I like it. I'm going to try it. I can still Brazen Borrower it back and get an extra turn if this doesn't work. A lot of cards that, yeah, we don't have enough mana for these. We don't have a way to shuffle. Let's put these back on top. All right, and we need to be cognizant of time. One of the problems is if we Felia, I think they can recast. I really don't want to lose that. I'm trying to think if it's worth playing a second Psychic Frog. I think it is. Because then, let's say hypothetically they do blink out the White Orchid, we can just block and kill Felia. I mean, Felia will die on the Strix anyway. I think that's better than using Brazen Borrower. I want to save Borrower for Cauldron in case it comes into play. But Felia can blink, Cauldron as well. Spirits, that's no problem at all for me because I've got the double Bowmaster hand. So I think they're probably going to Felia and blink the White Orchid and go after our mana. They might not. That's fine. So we're going to lose the land here. But I will use this opportunity to shuffle. Okay, I'm going to block. Let's block here. I'm going to discard. I think I discard. Do I discard the Bowmaster? Bowmaster can put so much power into the play. I think. No, I'm going to discard. Like, I want to maintain maximum flexibility. Also, I need to play faster. I'm sorry. I'm like laboring over every decision here. Okay, we killed Felia. Now they're going to take one of our lands. We're still going to have the mana to... So I will shuffle here. I'll fail to find. All right. So we definitely can win this game. Just a question of... Okay, so what I think I'm going to do first is I'm just going to start with Bowmaster here. Just take this out. I definitely could have done that in combat because they might be like, oh, they're not going to be able to draw. Okay, we won. They just conceded. They saved us a lot of time, which is great. We've got 10 minutes going into game 3, which I think will hopefully be enough for us to close it out, considering we played 2 in 15 minutes. We are going to be disadvantaged here because they know about the Bowmasters. They know about a lot more of the things that our deck can potentially do. We're definitely not boarding in any... This is the configuration. I mean, you can see Days could have been okay there, but like they were actually kind of playing around it because they saw it game 1. Like I noticed they I don't know if they ever would have been like after the first turn or two of the game, if they ever would have been vulnerable to Wasteland. I'm going to keep this. So this is a strong keep. We've got lesser card selection. Vial's fine. I'm kind of thinking we go Island, Ponder, and we try to find Witherbloom Command. Now, we'd still be 2 turns away from casting Witherbloom Command, but it's really strong. The other thing we can look for, of course, is just land. These cards, while good, are they good enough? I think we need land. I just see this like land being the axis through which we lose, and this is a good card to pick up in case they have Spirit. Next turn, I'm most likely just going to play at the Bayou. Their deck has, as far as I can tell, no way to go after basic lands. I haven't seen Ghost Quarter. The fact that they've got such a Vial heavy hand means they're going to have less actual creatures. We need to tempo them out now, though. I would love nothing more than for our first Psychic Frog to draw fire here. I would love for them to also potentially respond to Psychic Frog with Spirit of the Labyrinth, and then for me to respond to Spirit of the Labyrinth with Bowmaster before the draw trigger off Psychic Frog. That would be a really cool play. I'm really glad we drew that land. They don't have any Wasteland recursion, but they do have the ability to keep blinking, so we could run out of fetchable lands in our deck. That's always a risk when you've got an opponent that can infinitely blink a land destruction creature. Path is unfortunate. I'm not going to bother using the ability. Makes sense to bring in Path knowing that we only have one land in our deck. They're probably going to destroy our other land here. Yep. So White Orchid Phantom is really good against our deck. I don't think it's a great card overall, but I do think it's good in this context. So if they have a way to blink this, it's probably GG. Land's our best draw, not that land. I do think we need to just, play toward being able to get in with Psychic Frog here. I'll grab my Underground Sea here. We've already used our Bayou, otherwise I'd grab that. Yeah, I'm just going to play another Psychic Frog. They have 2 cards in hand. Psychic Frog outclasses all of their creatures, especially if they waste us off land and we're just pitching cards and basically hoping that they don't find Solitude, a Plow, or a... yeah, there's the Plow. We can't do anything about it. Okay, so they've worked through those. We could always draw a third one. Psychic Frog is definitely the best draw in our deck, unless they waste us, in which case land will become the best draw in our deck. This could definitely be like a Yorion game, because their vials are up so high. That's not a problem if we have our black source mana to poke it next turn. They could have Flicker Wisp at this point, but they only have 1 card left in their hand. And them flickering Mother to save her is not them flickering White Orchid Phantom. Well, I'm going to play out this land. And I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. There's no reason to wait. Is this an Esper? Is this a Flicker Wisp is the last card? It is not. All right. I'm pretty happy with where we are. I like keeping Brainstorm up just in case they attempt to... Well, actually, yeah, if they activated Vial on 2 there, I probably would have Brainstormed just to make sure it doesn't get locked in our hand. I wouldn't be surprised if they go for Yorion here. They are taking up to 4. Surely they're taking up to 4, yeah. Yorion's 1 turn away. We don't have any hand disruption. They are going to be able to White Orchid us again. But we do have that Fatal Push. So assuming we have mana available to use it, now that they don't have instant speed, I'm going to do the rare Instep Brainstorm just because I really do want to just get these Brainstorms out of my hand. They're not helping us move forward. Brazen Borrower could bounce one of these to hand, but it's not going to be that great. Force of Will is pretty bad. I don't have a shuffle effect. I just had to draw through these. Okay. Yeah, Force of Will is terrible when they've got double active Vial. They did not put... Did they? They didn't put it in their hand for some reason. I think they should have, but they could have some sort of interaction here. All right. I think we go ahead and play out the land. Yeah, I should have Brainstormed there. That was loose. My reasoning is, let's say hypothetically we did Brainstorm there. We could have found a fetch, and instead of having out a Wasteland, which is basically a colorless land in this matchup. Yeah, I'm going to play out Tamiyo. I still have the option to Borrower if necessary. If they put Yorion in their hand next turn, I'll just go for White Orchid Phantom, but proactively doing that does invite them to Flicker Wisp. Hopefully they don't have Karakas. What could this 3 be? This could be a Skyclave. Skyclave. Hitting Tamiyo. We just have to accept it. Yeah, this is pretty catastrophic. You know what? I could have Brainstormed there, but then when Skyclave just returned after Yorion, I would lose it then. All right. Yeah, so this ability is going to go on the stack. I'm going to just push the White Orchid Phantom. I can't afford to lose my black source here. and they're going to be able to Skyclave me, and I'll get a token, but they'll probably take out my Orcish Bowmaster, which doesn't really matter. I mean, it's like they're trading a non-functional 1/1 for a functional 1/1, or for a functional 1/1 for a non-functional 1/1. But in this matchup, I might as well just have a regular illusion, you know? And actually, if they do that, then I'll get a 2/2 next time. So it'll actually kind of be beneficial that they did this. All right. So that wasn't the worst Yorion in the world in terms of things that could go wrong. I'm going to brainstorm and hope to find something that we can do to get out of this. I think Psychic Frog still might be able to get us there. Okay, so let's put this back. We could blow up this 3. I'm not worried about them having a vial on 5. And then we have double lands. I think that's the play. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take damage from this Yorion here. But I think it's okay. We're going to go ahead and go green, black, Witherbloom. I will destroy their vial with 3 on it. The 5 is only going to be useful for... Well, it'll be useful for casting Yorion if they find a Crocus. But they don't have any card selection in their deck. I think we get back the Bayou just because we are low on actual sources in our deck. Yeah. We're not going to be attacking. If they attack, I will double block that Skyclave for sure. Even with the risk of them potentially blowing it out with a removal spell. Like, I'd be happy to get a removal spell out of their hand at this point. We're under 5 minutes on clock, but I don't think that's why we're going to lose. I think we're going to lose because we get beaten to death with Yorion. All right. We don't know what's in their hand. It could be Solitude. I think if it was Solitude, they'd probably just play it out and zap one of our guys after blocks, so they could combat trick us. Mom, she's a problem. Best draw in our deck is probably a second Witherbloom Command, which actually both our Witherbloom Commands are in our graveyard, so that's not going to work. A Fatal Push wouldn't be terrible. Another Bowmasters. That's not a good draw. I don't think there's a way out here. I'm just going to concede. Yeah. My opponent played well. They were interesting matches. Yeah. Yeah, I think that ultimately, as I said, like if you don't bully Death and Taxes early, like they get to this end game, which they just have end game inevitability. They have Yorion, and then if they have Caracas, it's really out of hand. And I say this because I play Espervile a lot. I don't play Death and Taxes anymore, but Espervile is basically Death and Taxes with Force of Wills in it, and Brainstorm, and good cards like Psychic Frog, like Baleful Strix. In addition to, it has a single Skyclave. It has, actually, I think that's where the similarities end, is it has Yorion, but it uses completely different creatures. You can watch me play Espervile on this channel, and you can also watch me play Espervile's kid brother, which is Espertempt. So I'll see you in round 3. We're 1-1. All right, while we're waiting for round 3 to begin, just some quick observations on the deck. Let's pull up the deck list. So, I definitely think that, like, you saw that we had lots of cards in our hand, lots of plays the entire time. Mana was a constraint. That's going to be the case in a lot of these matchups, just because Psychic Frog costs 2 mana to deploy. Baleful Strix. That's one of the reasons I'm not playing Spell Pierce or Stifle or anything like that, is because I expected us to be tapping out a lot. Also, Kraken Clues takes mana. So the weakness of this deck is definitely mana. You kick the mana out from under it, and it just collapses. And we kind of saw that where they were hitting our mana really hard, and we had to make a lot of suboptimal. Like, there was like a Ponder that was like really good stuff, but it didn't have a land in it. And I was like, oh, we really need the land. So, yeah, that is going to be an ongoing issue with the deck, is just having to find the land. And that is the case if you look at like any kind of like mid-rangey blue deck is going to be pretty mana hungry. And it's going to have to be playing like if you look at like Grixis Control, if you look at Stryphopile, which is kind of like Grixis Control, but it plays Dak Faden to draw and discard cards, and it'll play like they'll play cards like Life from the Loam, like Punishing Fire potentially. So it's just like value engine type decks are always going to struggle with this tension between like getting a lot of value, and then if you look at like Delver, obviously those creatures don't produce value. They're just beaters, big dumb beaters. DRC, I think, is the most powerful one drop in the format, basically. And the reason I think it's so powerful is because it is a dumb beater, but it also gives you card selection, and it's just like, it's so good. But, you know, red is definitely the weakest color in the color pie, in my humble opinion, as a control player. Like for control, red's the weakest color. So you really have to justify splashing. But I'm going to build a blue-red Delver deck, and it might not even be Grixis. It might just be straight blue-red, because I think there are so many good options just in blue-red, especially with Tamiyo now. And we'll see some of that in play. But I want you to note the contrast between trying to resolve spells like Psychic Frog, like Baleful Strix, paying for Tamiyo clues, all that stuff, trying to, you know, play honest cards like Witherbloom Command, Abrupt Decay, and not just cheat on mana and get free spells. Like, it does come at a cost, and I hope you're seeing that cost here. But I mean, regardless, I'm having a great time. This deck's fun to play. It won't be fun if we get paired against Painter. So let's see what Polister's on. Okay, they're likely on... What the heck is this? Oh, it's just oops all spells. So they're a combo player. In fact, all their legacy finishes, I think, are combo. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just like a standard oops spell list. This is from a few months ago. The good news is we don't have to worry about grief oops. That was not very much fun to play against. This is a great hand against oops. Let's keep it. I mean, really, any combo deck, this is going to be good against. Because what we have guaranteed, like, oh, well, this is not. Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, they've changed decks in the last few months. This is not going to be a good matchup for us, I don't think. Because they have Cavernous Souls. I will probably force... Well, I would have definitely forced a Chalice. Well, no. I have Decay, but I still think, you know, forcing Chalice is not beyond the pale here. So we're going to lead Tamiyo. If they have a Kozilek's Command, Tamiyo is most certainly going to get exiled. We really want to draw lands here. I'm going to be using my... so Tamiyo comes down this turn. Next turn, I'm going to attack in order to Brainstorm. Hopefully find land if we don't draw a land. But I'm going to be using my blue force effects aggressively here. That's a force, if I've ever seen one. My goodness. Yeah, we just can't like stand still for several turns. This is not a standard card that these decks generally play. See, Borrower is pretty weak in this matchup. We might need this third force, depending on how they're playing it. Yeah, I'm going to pitch the Borrower. Okay. So Tamiyo survives. The good news is they may not have a good answer to Tamiyo. I mean, just because they're playing that Eldrazi does not mean that they are Eldrazi, but the waste definitely like indicates to me that they're likely on some sort of Eldrazi build here. Okay, now I'm going to Brainstorm, and I'm going to hope to find a land. If I don't find a land, that'll be very sad. I didn't find a land, but I did find a cantrip. Cards that are going back, Abrupt Decay, I think. Tamiyo number 2, probably we're going to redraw it. Actually, I think if we're going to redraw it, I'm going to put Ponder on the bottom because I want to hold Fatal Push just in case. We will eventually find mana, but I would really be sad if my Ponder was like somehow like stripped from my hand with a Thought-Knot-Seer here, because that's how I break my Brainstorm lock. All right, so we're going to go up and we're going to pass. So we still have 2 force effects in our hand. I will force Glaring Fleshraker. I'll probably force Thought-Knot-Seer. Really, anything that attacks my Tamiyo, I'll force. I'll definitely force Kozilek's Command. I'm trying to think of cards that I wouldn't force. What is this doing? Target player scries X, then draws a card and create a token. I actually don't think we force this. It doesn't seem strong enough. Like they're just drawing a card and they're getting a... Yeah, I think that's a pretty weak play. Yeah, and I'm sure they have their reasons for doing it. I'm not saying they're making a mistake, but it's not a scary play. So we're going to be able to plus Tamiyo here. Get a little bit closer to Tamiyo Armageddon. Video game Armageddon. If you've ever seen the movie The Wizard. I mean, that's a wasteland. It's not good enough. I don't want these cards I can't cast. Another force is not the worst. I mean, Tamiyo can solo. We can draw our deck. We can play a single Psychic Frog. We can defend Psychic Frog with a lot of forces. And we can kill them in one swing since they're tapping Ancient Tomb. The scariest thing they could do here is Cavernous Souls. Okay, it looks like they passed in their second main. If they just pass, I'll be so happy. Doing more damage to themselves, casting maybe another Kozilek's Command. I will force this. Tamiyo's a natural card to exile here. And I'll use negation because I don't think I'm going to get 3 mana in time for it to be relevant to hardcast it. Force is the more flexible of the two forces just because you can cast it on your turn and you can hit creatures as well. All right, there's our land. Just like we drew it up. All right, so we have Force to defend. I'm feeling very good. Worst case scenario, like they don't do anything, then we can just draw a card with Clue, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to draw 7 cards. We can draw a Clue Panic Draw if they have 2 ways of interacting with our Tamiyo. They could be playing a card like Disruptor Flute, which would stop me from being able to ultimate, which I would force. I feel really lucky considering that we opened thinking that they were on combo and then they ended up being on Eldrazi. And their Eldrazi draw has been really wonky because they haven't played a single creature. Okay, they're paying blue here. This could be the Wastegate Battle Mage, but I don't think Wastegate can target Planeswalkers. I think it's just... Okay, we won! Wow! All right, I did not expect to win against Eldrazi pre-board. Post-board, we have Consign to Memory. Pernicious Deed. What does that hit? I don't think we want Pernicious Deed because they're going to be going after our land for sure. I mean, if they're playing Trinisphere, they're definitely playing Wastelands and other spells. We got really lucky that like our opening hand wasn't like an Underground Sea or something because they probably would have removed it. Leovold's pretty bad. 3 mana. Just it's a very high cost. I like all these cards. Abrupt Decay may be particularly important here. Shieldred's Edict is very costly, and they have a lot of redundant creatures. I don't really like it. Brazen Borrower is, not the best here because bouncing things to their hand, they get the effect again. Yeah, I mean, we're just a very mana-intensive deck, but I feel like we have to keep our dazes in. Maybe we could cut 1 daze because we're going to have to be tapping out. Like, Baleful Strix will definitely be a key player if these games go a little longer. Tamiyo is great. I don't want to board her out. I'm really putting like inexpensive spells at a premium, and I think for that reason, I really should keep days in, especially because I didn't see them respect days. Witherbloom Command can hit a lot of cards like Vexing Bubble. I think probably Brazen Borrower is the cut. I'm trying to think. They might be playing Chalice if they're playing Trinisphere. I'm going to cut a Ponder. I know that might seem weird, but it doesn't do a lot. Like, if they Chalice or if they cast Trinisphere, it's liability, and it is slow. And we need to go fast. We're like Sonic up in here with our red shoes on, ready to race. This hand slaps. Got lots of mana. We've got Strix, which is great. We've got a Wasteland, which could cheese. And importantly, we've got Island Tamiyo, which I think is the play here. And then, so we go Island Tamiyo, and then Psychic Frog is very good, especially if they use their limited removal on Tamiyo. Then we have a clear path for Psychic Frog. I think Psychic Frog is our turn 2 play. Ancient Tomb Opener, Talisman of Curiosity. Okay, so this is, I've never seen this card, but it looks like it is a mana rock for Eldrazi. Green, blue, does a lot. They're ramping pretty quickly here. They're going to have 3 mana next turn. Does it make sense to waste? I don't think it does. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to go ahead and play out the island, and then next turn, hopefully they go after Tamiyo, and then we just go all in on a Psychic Frog. I think that's probably our strategy here, because they're going to have so much mana so quickly, and they're probably going to wipe our lands. And if they wipe our lands, they're not going to be able to go get a Wasteland and waste this. But once they can do Sowing Mycospawn with Kicker, our lands will go away. And there will be a few turns where we don't have any lands in play. We'll gradually rebuild. We do have lands. Wow, no play. All right. So I think because of our mana base, we do want to go ahead and play out the Psychic Frog here. I'm going to attack with Tamiyo first. And I'm going to keep the fetch in hand. And the reason is, like, fetch, you can do things with it. You can, like, it's not really wastable. Okay, they're doing something here. Kozilek's Command. Okay, so I'm going to float here. Sadly, because of the way that we sequence this. Yeah, but unless they have like a green sun or a elvish spirit guide, they're not going to be able to stop that. So that was pretty good. Okay, this mana burns off. I will cast my Ponder because I'm going to just Island Ponder after I attack here. All right, I did get the attack. Sometimes when like things happen, like I click too aggressively and I accidentally skip my attack step, which is incredibly embarrassing, but that didn't happen there. So no need to draw attention to the fact that I've ever done that before. Okay, Ponder. Second Psychic Frog seems good. This Fatal Push is not terrible. Brainstorm's going to flip Tamiyo. I think we keep all these. So my thinking here, they've got 3 cards left in hand. They could play out a big fatty here, but yeah, I'll just take the Brainstorm. Actually is not what I want to put in my hand, but I already decided how to do it. But I definitely want to flip Tamiyo because I think flip Tamiyo debuffs their squad. I think we Psychic Frog before we flip Tamiyo though. Wow, maybe they have another one? That would make sense. I think, yeah. I'm just going to go and do exactly what I did again. I'm not going to play out my land. They don't seem to have other mana, so I am thinking that like it might make sense to just waste them here. Hopefully they have another Kozilek Command. Oh, they don't. Okay. Well, I am going to play out my Wasteland here. And I'm going to waste their Ancient Tomb. And I'm going to do that now because if they are going to Kozilek Command, I want to be able to Brainstorm. Okay, they're floating. Ugin's Binding, Devoid. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand. Okay, so this is like their gimmick. That's why they're playing the Devourer of Destiny. Well, I'm fine with that. We got some more mana on top. I'll put these Fatal Pushes back. They may not actually target anything in their deck. They may be playing like a really high curve deck. Okay, so that happens. It doesn't target anything. My Wasteland goes off. I'm going to plus, and I'll pass. And I feel favored. They've got 2 mana in play. They didn't have a land there up last turn. They've got 3 cards in hand. This does come back whenever they cast a 7 mana spell, but I'm just going to hope that they don't do that. Now this dramatically increases the amount of mana they have access to. All right. So we know that Fatal Push is the card underneath this. I think I am going to fetch here. And I'm just going to cast out my Psychic Frog. My reasoning for fetching here, again, clear the bad top card. Psychic Frog's out. We've just had so much stuff to do that we've never even cracked any of our clues that we produced either of these games in this matchup. Now they have to decide whether they go after Tamiyo or Psychic Frog. They have potentially 6 mana. If they play one more. No, wait. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if they play like a Yavimaya or something, they can get an extra mana. They don't seem to have mana sources. So I definitely commend my opponent brewing around Eldrazi, but Eldrazi is so powerful. There's the Songing Myco Spawn. They don't get the kicker. They're going to probably get a Wasteland for our Underground Sea. This thing is really cool because it taps for all the colors you care about as an Eldrazi deck. The blue for the Wastegate, the green for Songing Myco Spawn, and for colorless itself. So this is great tech if you need to get around Magus of the Moon or Blood Moon or Harbinger of the Sea. Okay, they got an Eldrazi Temple. So we can push this and clear the path. Well, that's a great pickup. So I'm just gonna plus here. I'm gonna attack, and if they block, I'll discard cards. If they don't block, I'm gonna Psychic Frog. And then I'll use Baleful Strix. I think Baleful Strix is what I'm going to pitch to force because I want to have a second Psychic Frog because Psychic Frog is how I close the game. If for some reason they remove one of my Psychic Frogs. Okay, so we get a draw trigger here. They are really low in life too. They're down to 7. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They don't have any mana. 1, 2. We're doing this. I'm not miscounting this time. No, wait. Never mind. I can't do this because it's going to get the minus effect, so it's not going to kill them. Never mind. I got really excited like I was going to kill them. I'll pitch that. Pitch. That is going to block. I'll pitch this. I do want to do damage, so I draw a card. Okay. Now we do get a card here. They take a life. We play out Strix. We have a blocker. They're going to need a lot to stop Tamiyo from ultimating, and my Psychic Frog is going to be gargantuan, and I drew a Daze. This is like, it's just an insane series of events. I feel bad for my opponent because they did so much damage to themselves throughout this game with Ancient Tomb. I feel bad for my Eldrazi opponent. I don't know if I've ever said that before. This is devoid. This is not Eldrazi. I believe I can just Daze this. Can I not? Okay, they just conceded because they saw me countering it. Wow. Yeah, we're 2-1. Beating this Eldrazi brew. Beating, gosh, these games have been so long. I'm trying to remember what round 1 was. Well, I know we lost to Death in Texas. All right, let's go into round 4. Oh, round 1 was Ad Nauseum Tendrils. We're up against Grim with an N. GR, like the word him with GR at the beginning. I like it. It's a cool, very thematic, evocative username. We have a terrible hand. Let's see what they're on. This is round 4 of the blue, black, green, Golgari scam. Okay, so this is a while back. Obviously, they're not going to be on scam anymore. They have played Eldrazi. I wouldn't be surprised if they just fell back on playing Eldrazi. Yeah, I'll just assume they're on Eldrazi. This is not a keepable hand. No lands. This is not a terrible hand. I think we could put back the Witherbloom just because it is not certain when we'll have green. Again, 3 color problems. I like all the other cards in this hand, though. We do need to get a second colored source. Ancient Tomb. Eldrazi vibes. Chalice for 1. That does shut off Brainstorm, but that's all it shuts off. I think we let it happen. Well, we have to let it happen. Actually, we don't have force, but I paused, and so now they're going to think we have force just because I'm incompetent. All right. I think we probably are surveilling for... we can't afford to be cowards here. We probably need to surveil unless we get a second land. But there's no turn 1 play, obviously, because Chalice shuts those off. Psychic Frog is particularly strong here because we have cards we can pitch. We're going to be drawing a lot of deck cards. We have at least 12 1-drops in our deck, 16 with Tamiyo. Yeah, because Brainstorm Ponder. Oh, that's great. So I'll get a Surveil land here. We have the option of dazing something. If they play like Glaring Fleshraker, I will daze that. They have 5 cards in hand now, or 6 now. So dazing stuff is not going to be particularly strong. It's just a great card. It just really unlocks so much abusive stuff they can do. Thought Knot will get dazed. Cosmic's Command. I'm just going to let this resolve. I'm not going to daze that. Again, like the way we win is we stick a Psychic Frog and we beat them to death with it. That's like our path to victory at this point. Baleful Strix certainly helps hold down the fort, but like realistically, Tamiyo is not going to resolve. We might be able to get in the situation where we can Witherbloom or Abrupt Decay. The Chalice, we do have 4 answers main deck for Chalice. I can't even daze this, unfortunately, because they could just sack another creature. Yeah, 1 mana for like, a band tier card, in my opinion. All right, I'm going to go, I'm going into the breach here, but we need to get the Psychic Frog online. That's going to go into the graveyard. Surveillance are so good. All right. I'm happy to be playing 2 of them. Land would be not terrible. Not terrible at all. I like this because now we can play out Psychic Frog and we have the ability, should we so choose, to fetch whichever color they deprive us of. We can go fetch. So I think we play this. And I think, giving flight to our Psychic Frog and hitting them a whole lot is our path to victory here. They have a lot of mana. Anything they cast is going to essentially be a ritual effect. Ugin plus Glaring Fleshraker is just too strong. That combined with Mycosynth, I think Eldrazi is like an S tier deck right now. I really do. It's hard to play correctly. It's not like a brain dead deck. I think it definitely takes more skill than the old Eldrazi decks do, in my humble opinion. But I don't know what I'm talking about, so just ignore me. All right. But the old Eldrazi decks, I mean, it felt like you just tapped your mana, you tapped out every turn. Here with Glaring Fleshraker and with like these more interactive spells, it does open up. Is this another? There's Sowing Mycospawn. Yeah, so we are all in on this frog, if you haven't noticed. So options. We could daze here. I think we should daze here. Because then maybe they get rid of this. We can save this land. I'm in favor of saving lands here. I don't care about this daze. Like, worst case scenario, we just discard this to frog. All right, they're tapping mana from their Ancient Tomb to pay for daze, which is good for us. Okay. Also, it's important to note that like these are cards in the graveyard, which may not be like seem like a big deal, but we're going to need every card in our graveyard that we can get here, because if they had a second Glaring Fleshraker, that would just be so oppressive. But they got Yavimaya, which means they may have a follow-up Sowing Mycospawn. If they attack, I will definitely start pitching cards. Once Upon a Time, very good card here. Again, Daze doesn't do anything because they've got these. I wouldn't be surprised if they found something that they can basically play for free. A second Glaring Fleshraker, yeah, that's probably game. So the way these work is they just feed each other, and like you get like so much mana. Every card you cast is 2 tokens, and it's 4 pings to us. So we might be dead on board now. We can cast... Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think this is death. So this is our last card in hand, but how many are we going to take? So note, we're at 14. Whenever somebody says Eldrazi doesn't need a ban, like just look at what's about to happen. Okay. So they haven't even attacked yet, and look at all the life we're losing. Keep in mind that every single card they played, which didn't cost them very much mana to play, has cost them basically 1 or 0 mana. Okay. So we just went from 14 to 6. That's insane. And I played a game in Tokyo where my opponent did this. They had double, and they did like a similar thing. And now I'm like almost like disincentivized to fetch just because I need to get my Baleful Strix out. Let's see. They can attack for 2, 5, 7. Yeah, we're dead. Even with the Strix. Psychic Frog is not going to be able to get through 2 times. And that, we did mulligan on No Lander, and were we on the play? They were on the play. But you see how abusive this deck is. And like, it's just one hit after another. And you're just basically like clenching your teeth every single time you pass the turn, because you know a whole lot of stuff is coming your way. Deed. See, they're playing Chalice. Deed wouldn't have played there. I mean, this when people complain about legacies like being like three drops not being playable, this is what they're talking about. Like, there was no window of time where my 3-drop ever would have been playable there. Like, it would just be comedically bad. Brazen Borrower, of course, we established is pretty bad. Like, if you target like a token or something, they just sacrifice it, and then you don't get your Brazen Borrower on the other end. So you just paid 2 mana to remove a 1 mana spell. It's not all doom and gloom. I mean, we did just beat an Eldrazi last turn, but this is a much more optimized Eldrazi match. I don't think Orcish Bowmaster is good here. Abrupt Decay does hit a lot of stuff. Almost every creature they played other than Sowing Mycospawn is less than 3 mana. And Eldrazi can play like super low curve, and I think that's correct. I think the ones playing Devourer, Destiny, and stuff like that, like just play low curve like everybody else, but also, be able to kick and have just ridiculous effects that are uncounterable on top of it. That's my thinking. Shield's Edict, slow. I kind of want to just cut this other Borrower. I mean, it is a flyer that can do damage. Maybe that's a mistake. We could potentially borrow something out of combat, and then like, I'm just thinking in these fantasy land where we have more than 2 mana out. I don't think cutting a ponder is atrocious here. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to keep all my removal in, except for one of the Brazen Borrowers. And I'm just bringing in 3 Consign to Memory. That's and I took out Leovold, Ponder, 1 Borrower. All right, let's take a look at this hand. It has lots of removal. It has a Force, which is highly valued. It doesn't do anything proactive. It doesn't have any land disruption. I mean, sadly, I think this is a keep. We do have the fetches to turn on Fatal Push. Yeah, I say sadly because I genuinely think that like we just have to get our land underneath us and hope that they don't have Soaking Micah Spawn, which we can do nothing about. Yeah, so I'll just play a land here and I'll pass. There's no need. We've already got our basic island. This is the only land that can't get a basic island. I like the ability to surveil end step. This basic island can kind of, we could probably play it out next turn, especially if we are able to find a Psychic Frog. I think Psychic Frog is the best card in our deck in this matchup. Once Upon a Time, I'm not going to counter that. Eldrazi Repurposer, one of the weaker cards in their deck in my humble opinion. Okay, they have a basic opener. That's great. We may actually have a little bit of time here. I'll get the blue-black. And Fatal Push. We don't really need a third one of those, so I'll just pitch it. I mean, it's normally I would definitely keep it. Okay, I think we plan to get another Surveil land. We don't really have any game plan. Like I don't want to brainstorm quite yet because it's my only blue card, and I might need to force something. I would love for them to play a creature here. When you cast this, and when it dies, create a 0/1. Yep, I am going to kill it just because it's material on the board, but I'm not going to counter it. Right. So I'm going to fetch first. We're going to get our other Surveil land. I'm glad this deck can play 2. Top card is a land which we don't need. We can put that in the graveyard. These are great value. These Surveil lands have been awesome. Okay, and then I'm just going to give them the counter, but I don't want them to have... I mean, they're going to get it sooner or later. We don't have any exile-based removal, so the card is going to die at some point. Unless we just fly over their heads with a Psychic Frog. Options. 1, we brainstorm. We find a Psychic Frog. We play Psychic Frog. I think that's the highest upside play. We have a blue card now. We could pitch. This Baleful Strix is really good, but I don't want to just Strix pass when we could potentially have a Psychic Frog out. A Psychic Frog is really good if they exile our lands next turn, because this might be our only window to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and use the green mana source here. We found a Psychic Frog. That's great. I actually am tempted to... Well, we're definitely going to waste. I'm going to put this back. I'm going to put this back. And that may be like aggressive looking. But if we can get this Psychic Frog into play and defend it, we're going to be in a very good place. I'm going to get the Bayou here. The reasoning being that they can't waste us off all 3 of our colors. I'm already kind of wondering if I should have just gotten a blue source just because now they can potentially Eldrazi us off of blue, which is much more important than green here. So the only thing Force is going to stop is something that will stop Psychic Frog. I'm not going to force anything else, I don't think. Kozilek's Command, Force. They have lots of mana. Thought-Knot Seer. I think this is okay. We just let them take the Force, and then we're going to hope that they don't have one of their probably 6 removal spells in the deck that they have no way to find. Because they've got the Wastegate, they've got the 4 Kozilek's Command. Yeah, and if they take the Fatal Push, that's fine too. What we're going to do next turn is we're going to waste the Ancient Tomb, and then Fatal Push them. If they take the Fatal Push instead of the Force of Will, I'm going to feel really good. But I think Fatal Push, yeah, and they agreed. So I think they don't have removal in hand for Psychic Frog, is how I read that. All right. We're going to untap. We're drawing wild here. Well, I'm going to definitely waste the Ancient Tomb. I don't think that... Yeah, I do want to do that. Now if I attack and they block with Thought-Knot, I just go all in on Frog. think that's fine. They could block with an Eldrazi spawn token. If they do that, I'll probably just play out Strix. And they won't have a lot of mana. Yeah. I don't want to exile because I... Do I want to exile? Maybe it makes sense to go ahead and exile. And I can just discard this. So I'm going to exile 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. One of the weaknesses of this deck is it doesn't even use its graveyard. So it's like just not great utility. I'm going to discard this Underground Sea. I'm just going to hope that we draw a card. If we draw a blue card for force, that's great. But I do want to keep the damage coming. We get a card. Fatal Push is turned on here. Actually, this is great. So I'm going to go ahead and push here. We'll get a card. Draw a card. If it's blue, we are going into Strixtown. Population, us. This is great. I'm feeling very favored now. But don't ever get overconfident against Eldrazi. We are still going to need to do a lot more damage, and they do have explosive lines. They have 6 cards in hand. They may not have a lot of mana. By the way, Brainstorm is definitely the card that's going to get pitched here if they have Kozilek's Command. I don't think I'll force anything else. I don't even think I'll force Thought-Knot Seer. Wasteland's fine. I'll actually be happy if they use Wasteland on us because we want to be pushing damage here. We've already put all the permanents on the table that we need to win the game, in my opinion. If we can put another Strix on the table, that's just like icing on the cake. Interestingly, they bounced that. I think that's a misplay. Oh, wait, it exiles it. Never mind. For some reason, I thought it was a bounce effect. It's a bounce for enchantments and artifacts, I believe. No, it's not a bounce at all. It's exile. Exile target artifact or enchantment. Return target creature to... Oh, they exiled it because it's an artifact. Okay, just took me a while. Sorry, folks. You're probably like way ahead of me here. But okay. All right. Well, that was kind of an embarrassing oversight. But okay, yeah. We have a second Strix. I'm not too worried. And we have a second Psychic Frog. I think where we start is we fly over and hit them again. See what they do. See what we draw. I'm not going to pitch any cards, but I am going to exile some cards. You maybe think that it's too passive, but like I'll leave these in these instants and sorceries in my graveyard to pretend that I have. Yeah, I think I could have definitely pitched the second Psychic Frog, but I can also hold it as a. I mean, I could double spell. I think it's fine, and we may need this mana. There's the black Strix here. Edict is a terrible card here. I think it's better to play out a Psychic Frog than it is to edict away that card. To my knowledge, they don't have a way to like recur the creatures. All right. So Edict will most likely get pitched to Psychic Frog number 2. They could Wastegate again. I mean, Baleful Strix is so good against them, though. That's the thing, is like it may look like it's disincentivizing any attacks from them. Repurposer is fine. It's not the fight. We're just going to fly over their heads and hit them. If they attack with Wastegate, I will trade. Just because I think we want to preserve our life total. Because we've seen like how badly we can get burned out. So this is like a 2 for 2 basically. Because they got the 2 for 1 already. Let's see what we draw. Another Baleful Strix. Don't mind if I do. I think I'm going to do this first. Just because I want to see what we're going to draw. And based on what we draw here, then I can have a little more insight into what I should pitch the frogs. I think Tamiyo is a pitch at this point. Actually, if we Tamiyo, we can flipper. I think that's fine. I'm going to do that. That might seem greedy because we have like Psychic Frogs on the table. I'm going to go ahead and discard this Shielder's Edict so I can make them both fly. And now I'm going to exile 1, 2, 3. I'm going to exile 1, 2, 2, 3. Does that work? Exile 3 cards from your graveyard. Is 3 cards selected? Oh my goodness, the interface for selecting these cards. As a software engineer, it's atrocious. All right, so we're going to attack here. We're going to do 4 damage to them, which is not a ton of damage, but we're going to draw 2 cards. We're going to flip Tamiyo. Witherbloom Command can drain life them, which is pretty powerful if we have mana next turn. That's a big if. I think I'm going to plus there. I do think it's fine to go ahead and just have momentum. We're going to need to second force. I mean, what are we even looking for? I think actually second force is okay. No, I'm gonna see if I can spec something else because these lands don't appeal to me. Okay, second Witherbloom Command. So we can drain them next turn. We can drain them for 4 if they don't go after our mana. We have black, green, black, green. So I think we've won, assuming they don't waste us. If they do waste us, it might take a little extra time here. Swing Michael Spawn is fine. There is a risk of them getting that 1 card, Ivugan, and then being able to put down some Glaring Flesh Shriekers. That would be very scary. And then they could burn us, but we're at 17. I don't think they're going to burn us out. They don't have any way to gain life in their deck that I know of. Mace of Ith. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. We Witherbloom Command. We target ourselves. And then we also drain them. Let's draw. Only one of these has to get through. Let's go black, green, Witherbloom. Modes are going to be target player mills, and we're going to drain. Boom, boom. If we get a wasteland, we can waste the maze, and then we just attack and win. We don't get a wasteland. I'll just get the trop back. I'm going to try again for the wasteland. This is a very flashy way to end the game. Okay, we'll just get this other land back. Now we have so much. Now we can just give flight to both of these. Assuming they don't have anything, they can do it instant speed. I think they're conceding. Yeah, because what we were going to do is we were just going to give flight to both of these, and then we were going to attack. And then regardless of which they maze, we'd have 4 power on each of them. And we could even attack with the Strix too. And we could even recur something with Tamiyo to have more cards in her hand. I mean, we had that like locked down. Feel very good about how that game transpired. That was decisive. Game 3 will not necessarily be decisive because we're on the draw. I think we keep the sideboard strategy. I'll probably take out A Daze and bring in A Ponder. Is that right? Huh. Yeah, I'm really not sure because I think we keep Daze in. I mean, it seems so bad. But I think they're playing. They're not playing Vexing Bauble, so maybe Daze is a little bit better. Yeah. All right. We're gonna go into game 3. We used like basically every mana. I don't know if there was ever a turn where we didn't use all our mana. It didn't feel like it anyway. This hand has Daze, Polluted Delta, Psychic Frost. I don't think we can keep a 1-lander against this deck. I think we need more interaction. Also, I would like to have a Force, ideally, rather than just a Daze. I'm going to mulligan this. They're mulliganing to 6 as well. This is good, but it doesn't have a second blue source. And I'm deathly afraid that we play this out, we get wasted, the game's over. I'm going to mulligan one more time. It sucks, but yeah, this is a keep. So I'm going to keep, put this back. There's a very real chance that like if they did mulligan, maybe we can waste like their Ivugan or something. I'll just cut that since that can't get basic island. All right. We got 10 minutes. We've got plenty of time to decide this game. And it's really just going to come down to how explosive is their deck. And do they have removal for my Psychic Frog? Ancient Tomb. No play. All right, I'm wasting that tomb. That might be a bait tomb. The best top deck in our deck, for sure. All right. Hoping that they have just bad lands like a waste or a forest or something. Okay, they have a second tomb. Okay. So 2-minute tomb makes me think maybe they have Thought-Knot Seer. I don't actually remember if they, because we just played against Eldrazi, I'm like having trouble remembering what this Eldrazi player played and what the Eldrazi player, what the previous Eldrazi player played. So we can definitely surveil. I'm not going to bother with basics again. So they have basically, this card is so powerful that I am going to force it. And it may seem crazy to force it, but I am going to do it. I will. Okay, yeah, I don't really care about that. I mean, it's not a bad card by any means, but it's not like a... I mean, this, by the way, these two cards together, like every creature that they produce off that now is like a 1/2 attacker. It gets very scary very quickly. And they still have 3 cards in their hand. I think we keep this. So my thinking is, okay, we can go all in on Psychic Frog now. Granted, they do have the bounce guy, the Wastegate that can come in, and I think here we just don't bother with green. We just want to, if we get wasted, we still want to have blue-black. Those are the core colors for this particular game that we're playing. All right. So I will definitely protect this with a Force of Will, because casting a second Psychic Frog takes a turn cycle, and we need to get the damage rolling in. They've got a lot of mana. Okay, Repurposer. I think it'd be a mistake to, with the It that heralds the end, this is a lot of power, actually. So it's going to be a 4/4. Yeah, I mean, call me crazy, but I feel like we have to. So we're going to Psychic Frog. We're going to start drawing cards. We will be able to connect with Psychic Frog and gradually build them up. They only have 2 cards in hand. Yep, and we're going to take that too. So we effectively denied them 5 mana by forcing there, or 5 power. All right, let's see what we draw. Baleful Strix is great. I'm going to cast it first because I may want to discard whatever comes off of it. But this basically blunts their aggression. I will definitely discard that. I'm going to go ahead and attack first, just in case they Kozilek's Command, but I think realistically they're going to Kozilek's Command before damage. I'll just discard. I'm going to assume my opponent knows what they're doing here. So we'll discard, or we'll exile these. Again, I'll pretend that we live in a fantasy world where we have Murktide in our deck for the sake of like making our opponent think about that. All right, we're going to get a card here. They can't block. We get a card. It is another Strix. We're not discarding that. We're definitely playing that because basically Strixes trade with whatever the most powerful threat on their table is whenever they attack. And it significantly deters them attacking. Okay, so now they have, if the heralds the end, they have access to the upper part of the curve. Like, okay, Wastegate. Oh, they can kill both of them. They can kill one, they can bounce the other. This card is so ridiculous. And of course, like I can't interact now, but there's like no way to interact. It's frustrating. Super frustrating. And now they can attack with impunity here because they cleared both of our blockers. They got a 3/3. Yeah, so we're taking 3 here. It's not looking good, folks. They are down to 1 card in hand. And it's worth noting that even if I like held my force for that, it doesn't matter. It's a cast trigger. I know I noted that, but I'm just going to keep saying that over and over. I think it's ridiculous. It's a slap in the face that Wizards keep printing these cards that are basically like, I don't think we're winning where we don't deploy Psychic Frog. I just don't think that's not going to work. We have to deploy the Psychic Frog. Even though Baleful Strix is better value, I'm going to deploy Psychic Frog. I'm going to block something where I discard this land. And I have to be able to block this. I'm going to take this hit for sure. I'll probably take this hit, but I can block, discard a land. Then next turn I can Strix. They're down to 0 cards in hand, but they could top deck like a Glaring Fleshwrecker. They could top deck Kozilek Command and be totally back in it. Card-wise, I mean, they're already in it board-wise. I feel like if Strix resolves and if Psychic Frog connects, we might have a ball game. Yeah, I'm just going to concede. There's no coming back from this. They're about to put a bunch of power on the table. Well, let's play it out because I think the game is over, but I don't want anybody in the comments to be like, you totally could have had this, sequence of draws that somehow pulled you back into it. So we're taking 6 here and we're dead on board. But we do have a Baleful Strix. So maybe they don't have a way to interact with it, even though they did draw a card there. I'm going to go black, blue, and I'm going to do the most feel-bad play of all time, and probably Wasteland here. Next turn, I can Witherbloom Wasteland back. I'm going to hit the eye. We're not dead, but we're probably dead. We can. So what I'll do next turn is I'll play this out. I'll fetch. I will actually have like slightly enough life to do that. Then I'll drain them and I'll bring the Wasteland back. But then I'll actually die on the next crackback, won't I? So basically with the way the game is currently, I have to block this. No, wait, if I block that, then I drop the 1 and I can't even Verdant Catacomb. I would have to naturally draw a Bayou. So I think I have to hit the Wastegate, and then we're taking 3 next turn, which means even if we Witherbloom, we'll be fetching down a 1. Even if, and they still have 2 cards in hand. Okay, let's think this through. So we block It That Heralds the End. These become weaker. Then we're only taking 2 next turn. But we're not going to be able to fetch, which means we're not going to be able to Witherbloom. If we're not going to be able to Witherbloom, then, we're dead on board again. But we could, okay, so this actually opens up to us drawing a green land or drawing a second Strix. I think they've exiled 1. We have 2 Strixes left in our deck. So we could draw one of those. We could draw a Psychic Frog, and then we could pitch these, and Psychic Frog could survive combat. So I think the correct block is to go ahead and go for It That Heralds the End, just because it decreases the power of these. This no longer is attacking for damage, and then we just have to get rid of this. Okay, we're at 1. They're wasting us. So now even fewer. I think we might be to 0 outs. We can still draw a green source. And survive for a turn. That's it. Good games. All right. It's a tough matchup if you haven't gotten that. Like pretty much any blue fair deck is unfavored against this. I think that if you're playing like Nadu, you could probably go over the top, but then you're playing Nadu and you're not having fun because it's a janky creature combo deck that is not fun to play or play against. Okay. This is a good hand. Akira Sakura. This is primarily a lands player. They could be on Jeskai. This is from yesterday. Today, they 5-0'd with Jeskai, or with lands. So 4 crop rotation, 2 plows, 4 loams. Okay, so the 2 plows is noteworthy. Otherwise, this looks like a pretty sphere of resistance. So they're not playing any creatures at all. So we can board out all our creature hate. Even in the board, they don't have any creatures. They have 2 chokes. Thorn of Amethyst is just like even more mana denial. So they are on like a serious mana denial. I'm surprised they're not playing Sowing Mica Spawn because there's a lot of land decks are playing that and it's really strong. So the win cons are 2 Dark Depths and 4 Urza Saga. All right. So we're definitely bringing in Pernicious Deed. Okay. I don't like this, but I think we keep on the strength of Force of Will. We have options. The first option is to get basic land. They don't play Ghost Quarter at all, right? No Ghost Quarter. So if we get this into play, they do have 2 ports, but it'll probably stay in play for the entire game. Then we're pondering for second land. We're trying to resolve a Psychic Frog, which we can defend with Force of Will on Brazen Borrower. We're defending that against how many Maze of Iths do they play? 3. All right. Okay. Well, I still think this is a keep. We know this is a dead card, but we can brainstorm this back. This is very much not a dead card. This is a great card in the matchup because it can potentially blow up like an Exploration. It can blow up they're mulling to 5, 4. I'll say good luck, have fun. I meant to say that earlier. I'm not like teasing them when they're mulling to 4. Good luck and have fun. I just forgot to say it. Sometimes when I say good luck, have fun, and I've forgotten to do it, they'll be like, well, now you say it after you just beat me really badly. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our island. This is match 5 of a pretty interesting series of games. I think we're 2-2. these are not land. I'm going to shuffle this. Like, it's very easy. That's not a land. We're in trouble. But we do have force. They're at 4. Okay, we're not in that much trouble, but like if their hand is like Mox Diamond, you know, okay. Exploration. This is our chance to hit this. I think we let it happen and we hope that they don't have loam. They have to have loam in order to capitalize on exploration. Otherwise, it's not that strong. Okay. Also, it is something we can blow up with Witherbloom later. I mean, they are using the London Mulligan. They may very well have like a Turbo Depths type thing. Land, please. No. All right, we're going to chill. We have Brazen Borrower for this if they do go the Turbo Depths route, but this is embarrassing and sad. I'll pitch Psychic Frog before I pitch Borrower now that they have Depths out. Okay, Saga is a very powerful follow-up. We're really looking for a land. It'll be embarrassing to lose against somebody that just mulled to 4, but their deck is certainly capable of coming back from mulling to 4. All right. Yeah, nothing to do here. We're going to discard this. It's worth noting that even if we'd fetched a duel, we wouldn't really be in much better of a situation. It's also worth noting that their exploration has not done a single thing for them. Well, actually, it did help them turbo out one card. All right. So, cantrips, please. Lands, please. Lands, preferably. All right, we're going to discard this other Fatal Push. This certainly can happen even when you have 20 lands. This is just the bad side of variance. They're going to Saga. They're going to go get a Vexing Bubble, probably. Expedition Map, so they can get their combo. And here they're going to be able to produce the combo with only having cast a single spell the entire game. So now it's land or death, because they're going to be able to put, they can play stage here and make it. Yep. I mean, the good news is we haven't revealed very much about our deck, so they don't know what we're doing here. If we find a land, we're still kind of in this. If we find a land, we're still kind of in this. I mean, we're still kind of in this. I'll take it. Like, I'm not just going to like scoop there, but that was like the one draw that, and they may have a way to get rid of this. Like, I mean, this is desperation. You're witnessing it in real time. I think this Strix is pretty bad. I'll pitch it. What are they doing now? Crop rotation. They're going to give it protection. I'll let them show me what their card is that they're going to go get. Sajiri Step. Phase it out, maybe. The Talon Gate of Madara. Caracas will work too. Yeah, let's concede. Yeah, I mean, thank you, deck. We saw 13 cards and we had 2 land. We had the land that we found and then we fetched the land out of it. So there are 18 lands in this 47 card deck. You know, we didn't keep a bad keep. We were responsible. We went for the basic island. We pondered. We saw 4 cards off that ponder, and none of them were a land. That does happen. So what can you do? Don't let that affect, because I see a lot of people like, oh, I got screwed that one game, and then they're like I'm going to play 23 lands. You know, don't let that kind of results-oriented thinking get you. Okay, so in terms of stopping Force Negation, or stopping Loam, the most important card in their deck, they are playing red. Consign cannot stop Dark Depths, but it can stop some activated triggered abilities. I don't think it's good. Abrupt Decay is pretty bad, but they could have Choke. Actually, they have Choke. I think we established they likely are playing Choke. Let's see if they're playing the same deck. This is a different build. So what that tells me, the fact that they're playing Burn Willows, is that they're probably not playing the Sphere of Resistance line, because Burn Willows is very mana intensive. Burn Willows for punishing fire. Grove of the Burn Willows is the full name of the card. Okay, so I think Shield Exedict Daze. Daze is pretty bad in these matchups. But I don't know if they have Vexing Bubble in their deck. All I know is Fatal Push is terrible. Leovold might actually be good because like we draw cards when they like maze our stuff or when they fire, punishing fire. So I think we keep Leovold. Maybe we board these back in. Let's see. What do they have that can sign memory hits? It doesn't really hit because I don't think Sphere is in their deck. So I think we do bring the Hydroblast in just because we don't have very much to play. And I'll bring a Single Daze in. Main deck, Karakas is definitely annoying against Tamiyo. All right. Let's see if we can get there. Mana is number one priority because they're going to deny our mana. This is another mulligan. This is not the absolute worst. It's not a great hand. I'm going to keep it though. I will put this redundant Spellbomb back. I'll keep. And I think the way we open here is we just open Delta. I'm not going to play on basics. I'm going to play this out and I'm going to plan to Surveil. And I'm not going to play Null Spellbomb out until they have a loam in the graveyard. Yeah. I think we got like 2 or 3 no land mulligans this league, which is statistically unlucky. Exploration's fine. We can blow it up with Witherbloom. That's totally fine. So they're going to get an extra land, and then we're going to take care of it. Now, because they played that wasteland, we can't really go get the Surveil land. We're just going to wait until after we have played our card. So we are going to draw wild here. Land would be great. Okay, wasteland is not terrible. I think it's better for us to just get this Delta back. So I'm going to go get my Underground Sea and play out my Trop. And I'm just going to go black, green, Witherbloom. We're going to mill myself, and I'm going to destroy their exploration. Okay, and I'll get my Trop back rather than my fetch. Is that correct? They can waste me out of... I don't mind if they waste me black. I do worry that they're going to waste all my colored sources of a particular color. So I'm going to optimize for that and get the land that actually counts as a land. Because if they get like a waste lock going, we run out of lands quickly. We've only got 8 vegetables. Wow, double wasteland. Brutal. Well, I'm glad I got a land back at least. I wouldn't be surprised if they do the other one too. Yep. They know we have at least one land. Now, there is a serious temptation to wasteland them here. Resist that temptation, friends. Don't let friends wasteland into oblivion because the lands deck plays so many more lands. They will eventually find lands. Oh no. One of my opponents, I think yesterday, was like, not like this, like the Matrix. And then they proceeded to beat me anyway after giving me all that drama. By the way, you'll never see me saying not like this in the chat because it really gives away like the extent of your desperation. But my opponent may have been like leveling me and like, oh, I'll pretend I'm desperate, but I've actually got this running series of cards in my hand. All right. Well, this is not bad at all. I'm not going to mess around. I'm just going to take the land where we can get it because I need these lands. I'm going to cast it and I'm just going to drain them and I'm going to get my land back. And the land will be, I'll get an Underground Sea back. It's the more important of the lands in my deck. All right. And then we'll pass. We have lots of cheap interaction up if we ever have a turn where we can use it. All right. All dressed up with nowhere to go. I'm sensing Punishing Fire. Shadow Spear. Definitely would be a good card to Witherbloom away, but we pulled the trigger on our Witherbloom while we knew we would have the mana to be able to get the land back. I regret nothing. I don't think we play at the Wasteland because then they know to plan around it. Let's see what our top cards are. If we get a Psychic Frog, that's fine because Psychic Frog can potentially like discard cards. Okay, so I have a plan here. I'm gonna flip Tamiyo. Flip Tamiyo is very hard for them to deal with, I believe. Land for turn. Tamiyo. They don't have Plowman up. They do have Red Elemental Blast. If they Pyroblast this, I might actually force it. Because they don't have ways to get Pyroblasts. Actually, if I force here, then I'm not going to have Brainstorm to Flipper. I think I just accept it. I know I have a lot of lands on top of my deck. I am going to go ahead and play this out. And then what I'll do is next turn I'll probably just brainstorm and try to find a fetch so that I can shuffle away my Force of Will. Force of Will is not a good card in this matchup. Uh-oh. We have 3 answers to that in our deck. I think this is the Force. I do, because if they assemble it here, like we're pretty on borrowed time, and I can just play out the Wasteland later. If they have another Pyroblast, it's going to be really, really sad. Okay. Soul Guide doesn't matter. Again, the only thing we use our graveyard for is I would actually love it if they just wipe our graveyard right now. We have a pretty fat graveyard instead of drawing the card. They're not doing that. Because like a deck like this, totally you would expect it to play Murktide. The only reason we don't play Murktide is we're greedy for value. I mean, the last card in their hand could definitely be like Life from the Loam. But if they loam here, it's pretty bad anyway. Okay, so here's what I think we could do. We could just waste the depths, and then we could spellbomb them, and then yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to waste depths. They already used their their crop rot. They probably would have used it if they had it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do this now. And that's going to get rid of one of their 2 depths in their deck. We drew a second Wasteland. I'm feeling pretty good. They're actually pretty low on lands. Like, it's not... I mean, we're not going to waste lock them or anything, but we could definitely slow them down a lot. We'll see if they have a land drop here. I'm trying to think of 3 drops, 4 drops. So they're activating that to draw a card. That's fine. If they find a loam, though, like it just busts our entire thing open. I hope they waste here. That's fine, because we've got plenty of land. But that does mean that they have loam, waste lock back online. We have nothing going on. We need a Psychic Frog stat. That's not going to do it. This does represent a Surveil land. I think it's better than wasting them here. I'm going to hold on to the Wasteland just in case we get into a situation where they get Urza Saga. I think that's more important to stop Urza Saga. They're pretty far away from doing the Dark Depths plan. While they're deciding what to do, yeah, there we go. This is precisely why we want Wasteland. And again, like our entire plan is undone by a single Life from the Loam, which they play 4 of. So we're just hoping to fade those long enough to get something going over on our side of the table. Also, this Shadow Spear means we're going to have to do even more damage than we normally have to do. I'm going to get the Hedge Maze. Yeah, we've got 2 fetchables left in our deck. So this is scary time here. That's a good card, actually. I'll keep that. All right. And the reason it's a good card is because they do have a lot of things in their deck that target. So at the very least, it's a 2-for-1. I'm just going to go ahead and waste here. I'm not going to wait. They may have the crop rotation, which is fine, but we don't want to let them get into casting range. They're probably laughing at this card like, why is this even in? I mean, it is a pretty embarrassing card. It dies to Red Blast. It costs 3 mana, but we just didn't have that many cards to bring in. I probably should have a Dress Down on the sideboard. Dress Down's pretty good in this matchup. Stage, okay. So wasting was very consequential there because Stage could actually there aren't any basics to copy, so I'm not sure how consequential Stage was. All right, I'm going to hit him with this. I'm just going to put my cards on the freaking table. I want to get them dead. Black, blue. We still have all of our colors, depending on what we draw here. I just want to make sure that if we get a Wasteland... yeah, I'm going to play it up. We have Brainstorm. There's nothing we can brainstorm into that's going to be of consequence, but we'll use it to shuffle bad cards away in a turn or 2. This is what I was talking about. Like, we're still very much in danger here. We need to find... I did bring in both Soul Guides, right? So we just need to find that Soul Guide. And Force of Negation would also be fine. We could even hardcast Force of Negation if we need to. But this Urza Saga is about to get completely out of control. So this will be our last attack that we can do without having to worry about. I do think it's worth it just Brainstorm here before we cast Psychic Frog, just in case we find something better. I think, hear me out. I think Strix is actually the play here because Strix slows down this a little bit. It draws us a card. Okay, I can put this back. I can put this back. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go blue, black. Do I have another Underground Sea in the deck? I think I do. I think it's a ETB tap land, though. I'm going to put Psychic Frog in. I'll play Strix next turn. We know it's going to be... They're not going to be able to waste this off it completely. Next turn, we're drawing the fetch. The upside of having Psychic Frog is much higher because we can get a card off it for sure. We'll get a card off Baleful Strix this turn too, but they're going to be able to do lots of shenanigans like Urza Saga or Thespian Stage copying Urza Saga, stuff like that, but that's very mana intensive. They don't have a lot of mana. They didn't mill their Life from Loam. The fact that we blew up that Exploration turn 2 is consequential here. All right. They are passing with ostensibly the ability to make an Urza Saga token. So we know our top 2 cards are Land and Ponder. Those are both good lands, or both good cards. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by drawing, and I'm going to see what the Ponder yields. Because they may make a token that I can just push or something. Wait, I took all my pushes out. So we do have one non-ETB tap land. It's an island. I'm going to go ahead and fetch it now. Yeah, I'm going to fetch it. And the reason I'm going to fetch it is if I do flip into something like a Abrupt Decay or something like that, that's good. Hydroblast. I don't think these cards are good. I know the Delta isn't good. I'm going to any order shuffle. Abrupt Decay is the best draw in the deck. We don't have any cards that cost a single black mana. I think we may actually pitch this. So they can make a token, but it's not going to be a strong one. We're going to hold this back anyway, so we can trade with the construct that they make. And if they don't actually make... So let's see. They can make, but they can't copy. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to fly the frog. Does it make sense to do that? So let's see. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They could equip this. They could get another thing. They would have 4 power coming in. I block and trade, but they gain 4. This is probably actually a really consequential decision as to whether I jump it. I think it's free to jump. I do want the card. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pitch the Ponder. Yeah. And so we're just maximizing the amount of damage we do here. If they have like Boseiju to kill my Strix, they could get through. I think Tamiyo is worth playing out here. Is she? She doesn't do any immediate damage. She's a card I could potentially pitch, but we have so many lands that the clue has to be useful, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's an easy decision to play her out. All right. We have a lot of pressure. So here comes Construct. They're going to have 2 constructs, one of which will have lifelink. So there'll be 5 5s, I believe. There'll be 4 4s, but one of them will be bigger. If they target any of my stuff, I get cards. They may have... They're going to attack with 1 for sure. Okay, now they're going to be 5 5s. They still haven't regrown their... Oh, they have Maze of Ith. That's good. But Maze of Ith does trigger... Okay. So they don't have any like first strike or anything. We are going to be able to kill this when they attack. And that will shrink this. I am going to block because I want to kill this. Let's think about this. I think we do block here. I think it makes sense to do so. We don't know what land they're going to put into play. I assume... Well, they already played the Maze of Ith. So the best draw in our deck is probably something that interacts favorably with this construct, like an Abrupt Decay. I'm going to go ahead and play this first because we'll replace it anyway when we get a card here. Brainstorm does flip Tamiyo. That does minus that. I think we Brainstorm here because there is the possibility that we find Abrupt Decay. And if we find Abrupt Decay, we just win. Okay, this does it as well. And they're not going to be able to attack back and kill us. So I feel like we probably have won here. Because we're going to bounce this out and then we're going to just attack. They basically have to stop Psychic Frog here. No, because they gain life. So it's not a lethal attack anymore. But I am going to go ahead and do this. I don't think there's anything they can do that would be detrimental here. We get a card when they maze us. They're not going to be able to gain life this turn from Shadow Spear. I think they probably have resigned themselves to losing this game. I'm going to discard this redundant Tamiyo for extra damage here. Okay. But they're just eating up our clock, which is a totally viable strategy considering how slow we're playing because we have to think really hard in this matchup. All right. I'll just pass. This doesn't fetch anything on our deck. Wait, it does technically fetch the blue-black Surveillion. I don't think that matters. I'd rather just be able to pitch cards to Psychic Frog here. I think we just F6 through our turn. Save some time. Double Maze Vith. I don't think that's going to save them. We do have Wastelands left on our deck. Yeah, I'm just going to attack with everything here. Yeah, we get a card. Yes. Okay, we're going to get another card because they're going to probably do it to the frog too. If they don't, they're dead. Okay, they're taking 2 here. They can get... trying to think of what they can do here. I think we get Witherbloom back. We just Witherbloom them to drain some life from them. And we'll make green here. And then I'll go black. Witherbloom. And we'll drain them. And we'll mill ourselves. I can see they're scooping. Okay, good. They didn't make us keep playing. It would have taken more of our clock. You are a gentleman. Or a lady, Akira. Okay. No changes. This is a grindy as heck game. Actually, yeah, days on the play I think is fine. It's just like as a one of days. Borrower definitely pulled his weight there. Leovold was great. We drew like 4 or 5 cards off Leovold. And he was an attacker in a situation where we badly needed attackers. The only thing I can think is maybe boarding in additional days, but the game has already started. This is a super slow hand. I'm keeping it though, just on the basis that we have Wasteland. We've got lots of mana. All right, we're going to play as quickly as we can. We expect this to go all the way down to the last minute, unless we just lose, which we might here. They're crop rotating right off the bat. Okay, getting an Urza Saga. That is fine with me. Mox, I'm going to be so devastated if they have the freaking Loam here. Oh no, this is the full Loam blowout. This is like the nightmare against lands. Choke? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, choke sucks, but we can get rid of it for sure. So here's what I think we do. I think we start by... They're down to 0 permanents. I'm just going to go ahead and waste this Saga because I don't want them to create a single permanent off of it. Next turn, we play the Bayou. And then we play the Trop. And we get rid of choke. Thespian Stage is good. It would have been really good with Urza Saga. I'm glad we got rid of Urza Saga. Pernicious Deed actually gets rid of everything. That's much better. I'm going to play this out just in case they can't make it while this Wasteland's out here. They did have the Loam. Yeah, I think we lose. Even though we have Deed. That's really brutal. They're just going to waste lock us. We'll never get up to... we can try. I'm going to play this out first because they may be less inclined to waste it. I'm pretty sure they're going to waste it though. I mean, come on. They might actually copy. No, there's no reason to do that. They can just get a new card every turn. If they make the mistake of letting me untap a Pernicious Deed, it will be the last mistake they ever make. Okay, so here, I'm just going to go for this. I'm going to force when they attempt to Life from Loam here. Okay. This is an absolute street fight. Play that out. I can instep destroy choke, which I may have to do. and then Deed can follow. Deed will rock them. It will absolutely rock them. But they can rebuild. They do have Life from the Loam. So I think we just need to be ready to stop Life from the Loam. Okay. So end step. We are going to go green, black, decay. All right. Now we're going to untap. We're going to draw. I think we have to play out our land here. We're looking for another land would be good. This is a win con. It's slow. I think we want to draw to land just in case they have mana disruption. I am going to play out the Strix. Okay, we have a card on the table that can basically keep the Urza Saga off our back for a turn. We drew a land. That's fine. All right, this is a ball game. We're still in this miraculously. So they did return. They're gonna go get a card. If they get Vexing Bauble here, the game is over. If they don't get Vexing Bauble, there might be some play left. I don't think they play Vexing Bauble because they play diamonds. I hope they get a diamond. That would be the real victory. All right, let's see what they get here. All I know is I have to force the Loam, which is card disadvantage. I am well aware. I will pitch one of these Hydroblasts. Cast. Okay, please let me cast. I am worried about clock. Why is it not letting me cast it? Cancel. Okay, it worked. My goodness. This is stopping them from being able to daze. Pyroblasting. Okay, so they are going to be able to most likely get Wasteland back. I imagine that's what they're going to play. If they play another card, it's not as bad. Yep, that sucks. Okay, they're not going to attack in. We really need to find a Nile Spellbomb here, but I am going to deed for 0. I don't think we have the luxury of time. I'll get a Underground Sea here. Black, blue, black, colorless, pernicious deed. Just going to deed for 0. If I waited a turn, I could have gotten the map, but they would have just activated it. All right, so what's our game plan? Well, we threw away Tamiyo. That was kind of a game plan, but it's a really slow game plan. I think our game plan is we find a way to stop them from loaming each turn. They are only able to play 1 land per turn. So it's not, they can either like play a Saga or they can waste us. Yep, there's the loam. They do have Tabernacle, I believe. I saw that. That could be a problem once we start running out of lands. We need to get Psychic Frog stat. Witherbloom Command actually isn't bad here. So I'm going to go black. I'm going to go green, black. I'm going to cast this. I'm going to mill myself. I'm going to destroy this. Hopefully this does, like, it reduces the Urza Saga count. Actually, what did they put in their hand? Did they get a green source? So they have Tabernacle, Wasteland, Dark Depths. Is there at any point did they mill a green source back? We know they have Dark Depths. We could return Wasteland here, waste them off green, and then they could go get a Mox, and that could be a green source later. I think I am going to get a Wasteland here, and I'm just going to waste them. That might be completely bonkers, but that is my instinct, and I don't have time to think about it. All right, and I'm just going to try to find a Psychic Frog. That's not a Psychic Frog. Psychic Frog is how we win with 3 minutes on the clock. I don't think we're going to win this one, but I'm going to try my hardest. Okay. They're going to play. Oh, yeah, well, that does it. If I missed that, sorry. I didn't see it. All right. Yeah, we're going to get wasted twice a turn. Yeah, this game's over, I think. If we draw a Psychic Frog right now, we do have Brazen Borrower for their monster. That's not what we wanted to see. I'm just going to attack. I think I'm in step flashing in this Borrower. I don't think it's going to get us anywhere, but if they assemble the combo, This could be Pithing Needle. If they get Pithing Needle instead of Mox, that's fine. I'm just going to accept it. They get Mox. Yeah, this is an exciting matchup, but it's an incredibly clock-intensive matchup. Another Wasteland. Taking out that. Because they're not playing out the card, I am going to play to the extremely unlikely situation where we are able to do enough damage to them before they kill us, rather than playing defensively and planning to borrow their Dark Depths thing. Okay. Tabernacle, that's unfortunate, but we will be paying that. That is very clock intensive, by the way. Yes. Yes. Our best draw is definitely a land here, so we can go get a basic. Otherwise, these creatures are going to start dying to Tabernacle. There's no way we're getting four attacks in 2 minutes without them meaningfully interacting. I'll force basically anything interesting they put on the stack here, like a crop rotation. I think I will actually force that just to slow them down a little bit. Okay, there's the Urza Saga. They can go get Shadow Spear. They got Stage. So they're one away from getting the Dark Depths guy. Merit Lage. Okay, I'm just going to try. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, I could have let the Strix go just so I have kind of like an out in case I draw something good, but I didn't draw anything good, so it doesn't matter. I probably will let Strix go next turn. This is probably my last turn of being able to attack in, because unless they took Shadow Spear out, I think there's zero chance that I'm going to aggro them. They're going to actually waste one of my Underground Seas next turn. I'm just going to F6. All right, I'm going to concede. The double Wasteland with Tabernacle. Yeah, that's how lands wants the game to go. They want us to get into a situation where we're out of lands. We do have an island. There was never really a clean... I mean, there might have been an opportunity to go fetch that island, but that is a 2-3 record, thus breaking our streak of like 7 leagues or something, where we did maybe 8 leagues where we did 3-2. But I think they were good games. Is this deck good? Well, I think that the Uro decks are very powerful. You saw that we never ran out of things to do. We can take a look at the list here. We never ran out of things to do. We always had cards in our hand. We always had abilities we could put on the stack. We had game against basically everything. We did not go up against the worst matchup, which is Painter. But we did go up against Eldrazi, and we went up against Death and Taxes, and I believe we lost once to Eldrazi, once to Death and Taxes, and then we lost to lands, and we won against both Ad Nauseum Tendrils, which is an outdated version of Tendrils, and we won against like a brew version of Eldrazi. So I would say this deck is not great. And I just threw this together because I was like, wow, I really enjoyed playing the Allurn match. And I wonder if we just get rid of Allurn and we just play like good stuff. Now, I think Allurn would have also struggled in those matches we struggled with, because getting to 4 mana to cast Allurn is a tall order, especially if you're not playing Mana Dorks. So I don't recommend playing this deck or Allurn. I think what I would recommend, if you're just looking for something that's powerful to play, would be Blue-Black Stifle Knot or Blue-Black Nethergoyf. These are both very strong decks that have a lot of the same cards that play similar. Like, I don't know about this third Brazen Bar. It's a 59 card. We need to figure out what to put in here. But basically, we do want a 15th creature. I'm just not sure what it is. But this deck, and of course, Blue-Black Stifle Knot is probably my favorite deck right now to play. I just got my 4th Phyrexian Dreadnought, so I'm actually going to be able to play this in paper. But yeah, I'm really excited about it, just to give you an idea of how the deck plays. We have Dreadnoughts that are optional. This is not like a full-in, like we're playing like tons of enablers. We're not playing like Doorkeeper Thrall. We're not playing Null Drifter, which in my testing we could never cast it. Like the format's just too fast for 3 mana spells generally. Even if you're cheating those spells, you still have to have 3 mana, or you have to have 4 mana to stifle the Dreadnought, the Null Drifter. With Phyrexian Dreadnought, you just need 2 mana to either dress down and then untap, and then you can put the Dreadnought in the next turn, or 1 mana to play the Dreadnought and 1 mana to stifle. And it's only 1 colored mana, notably. So you can do this with like Wasteland. You can do this off basics. There is Beanstalk. I'm less impressed with Beanstalk right now. Pokimoki and a few other players are still getting a lot of, reps with it. Having success. I think Bob Buttons is still having some success with it. The thing is, when you see like 5.0 lists, you don't know how frequently people are playing. Like they could, like you see if we look at like the trophy leader and stuff, I mean, they may be playing like 3 leagues a day for all we know. And if they're playing a combo deck, 3 leagues a day might only take 3 or 4 hours. But if you're playing a deck like this, it's like a 4-hour endeavor. It's a slog, right? So the other thing to note is with decks like this, you are simultaneously very vulnerable to Orcish Bowmasters, and you're also like very vulnerable to like Daze, and you have to get all your, like, it's very mana intensive, and also, Graveyard Hate completely grounds your Murktides. So if you're looking for my suggestion for what to play, I would recommend probably playing just this Bug Frog Strix deck that has basically all the cards we were playing, but it has Uro instead of having more Strixes. I think 3 Strix is plenty. I would argue maybe even 2 Strix is fine. I'm not sure how good Stifle is right now. It's obviously very good in the Stifle Knot deck, but when it's just like honestly trying to like 1 mana Stone Rain somebody when they're fetching, I'm not sure whether that's good enough right now. The other deck that I'll say that is very strong, that I think is probably the top deck in the format, is this Nethergoyf deck that I just mentioned because I was just taking the Brazen Borrower out of it. But like, I think this is probably the best all-around tempo deck. The final deck that I want to play is Blue-Red Delver. As you can see, I'm missing a few cards. I need, like, these are not expensive, but getting these last 2 Volcanic Islands takes some tickets. So what I'll probably do is I'd like to just play straight Blue-Red and, play Delvers and also play some number of Tamiyo. And I mean, maybe even 4 Tamiyo. I'll show you the list that I have later, but that is something that you can expect on this channel, maybe within the next week or 2, is just like pure blue-red. Now, I'm aware that like Grixis Delver is considered to be like the best because it can play Psychic Frog and it can play, the red cards and stuff. And that might be the case, but there is a lot of appeal to being able to just go blue-red. I think 2 color decks are very favored right now over 3 color decks. I think the preponderance of Stifles, of, cards like Harbinger of the Seas, Blood Moon, the fact that, there are totally viable monocolored options like Painter, mono black aggro is not bad. Of course, Death and Taxes. It's just really tough to be like a 3-color control gamer. And that breaks my heart as somebody who always would prefer to play 3 colors because you just get so much more from Witherbloom. One option that we have, if we want to play control with just 2 colors, is to make the very lightest of splashes and do something like this Tamiyo Beans deck, but just get rid of the Witherbloom command completely, which sucks because you really do want to fill up your graveyard, and get rid of the deed and just have it literally just be 4 Beanstalks, 2 Carpets, and then maybe get rid of your Hedge Maze and go really pure in terms of colors that you're playing. So I'll go ahead and show you what this deck would look like right now. This is similar to what Pokimoki is messing with, but instead of having like you can actually play a second island, which is crazy. Like a 3-color deck with 2 basic islands. But if you think about it, that'll let you cast your Murktides. That lets you cast more reliably your Baleful Strixes. Like this is a blue-black deck that is just splashing to be able to cast Beanstalk, right? Like that is very appealing to me. And I think this will actually probably be the next league I play, just because I'm really curious to see how having a little bit more basics, like this would have totally changed the texture of those lands matchups, right? If we had more basics, we could have just laughed off a lot of what those lands decks were trying to do to our mana base, right? If we'd had those. And then of course, 4 Bowmasters on the side. I think if you're playing black, strongly consider it, because this is just such a house against Murktide. Against Jeskai control. This is such a house against opposing Beanstalk decks. And there are a lot of Beanstalk decks running around out there, even though, as I said, it's not as favorite as it was. Like, you can see the video on my channel just from a few months ago before Modern Horizons 3. I went to a tournament, a 1K, and I did 6 rounds, and I did not lose a single game. I won the tournament, right? And, like, that is... the meta has changed a lot. Modern Horizons 3 has changed a lot. And I just think this is not as favored as it used to be. It's still a great card, and you can still support it with Murderous Cuts and Murktides and, of course, Force of Will. And that is enough. And you could probably play like, we probably need to, so we're missing a card. We would probably want to put Lorien Reveal back in. I'm going to go ahead and brew this in real time. Oh, wait, we've got 2 Loriens. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and arrange this, and this is literally going to be the next video I record. And I might do it today. I might just like end this video and jump straight into it because I'm having so much fun playing, and those games were fun. The thing is, like, yes, we didn't do spectacular. Yes, the deck we were playing was underpowered, but it was fun. There were a lot of decisions to make. There was a lot of interaction. It never felt like we were just completely out of it, other than that one game where I just completely failed to find my second land off the Island Ponder. Yeah, that was unfortunate, but like in general, I'm having a blast with these interactive creature decks. I mean, like, I'm not a Planeswalker fan. I'm not a creatureless fan. I am very much like I love putting creatures on the table, turning them sideways, and winning through creatures. And if Tamiyo flips into a Planeswalker and that's how she helps me win with creatures like Psychic Frog, I'm 100% game. So I hope you're enjoying these, and I hope you're learning from my many mistakes. As always, comment in the comment section with mistakes. Try to include timestamps. That way I can see, oh yeah, I agree. Like, that was a bad sequencing, or, oh, why did I pitch that card when I could have pitched that card? I want to shout out to like the kind folks in the comments who are sharing their insights and helping me get better as a player just by watching and pointing out things. Even if I disagree with the play, it's still helpful to help me think about how another player would have approached a given situation. Until next time, be excellent to each other and party on.